Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Three in the Keystone, episode 45. You know it's the Michael Jordan episode, back wearing the 4-5. Probably one of our most anticipated episodes that we've ever had.
Not for me.
No, this is an awful episode.
This is the first time I didn't want to do the pod.
Yeah, this is not fun.
Guys, I'm talking about our raffle giveaway sponsored by Piggyback Partners.
Oh, see that?
I take that back. Sorry. Jumped the
Yeah,
gun there.
so you owe an apology to the Piggyback. So, for those of you who aren't aware, that means you're not following us on Instagram. We ran a raffle last week. We have a bunch of users who are in it in order to win a $25 Amazon gift card. And we're going to run the raffle right now. I have my computer right here. I have all the users who are logged in listed, and I'm going to go on random.com and I'm going to.
We have a special guest is going to pick the winner, NBA official Scott Foster. Here he comes into the chat.
Yeah. You guys ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I'm going to click on randomize right now, and whoever's name is on top will be the winner. 1, 2, 3. Randomize. And we have Brody121.
Brody.
Shout out to Brody. I'm not sure who that is.
Bruiser Brody.
But I'll say this, Brody121, if you're listening. We're not going to reach out to you for a couple days. Reach out to us. Show us that you're a dedicated listener and not just somebody out there trying to grab a quick $25. Show us you're listening. Send us a DM. Say, send me my freaking money.
And
if you don't, we'll send it to you by Friday.
We have a specific set of skills.
Well, congratulations to Brody121. And thanks to everybody that entered, followed, liked, whatever else, tagged people. And, hopefully we can get another contest up and running pretty soon. But thanks again to our friends at Piggy Bank Partners.
Absolutely. So it's time to get into it, boys. Segment 1, Philadelphia sports recap.
No banter this week.
Can you play the Undertaker entrance music behind this when you edit it?
So Ranger Suarez returned to the rotation Saturday night. Got rocked up by the Rockies. Anybody's thoughts?
Listen, I didn't even know that was happening. You said that in the text. I didn't even know that was happening, dude. It's good. You know what? It's nice that after that debacle of Game 7, I don't know about you guys. I need a hard reset from sports. Like, I need to take a good, 2, maybe 3 week sabbatical from everything Philadelphia sports related, because it's been long. And dude, we've never been through this before, to watch 2 title game losses followed by another second round playoff loss by the Sixers. Like, my heart I can't take much more.
Well, third, if you count the Union, which I counted for a lot of other people, that was also rough. In fact, that was terrible.
Didn't Phillies USFL? What was the
arena? Oh yeah, the
they
Stars.
They lost too, right?
The USFL Cup. Yep, sure did.
Four title game losers.
Sure did.
It's been rough. So when we last
we lost in the championship in Seltzer's Dynasty Fantasy Football League this year to a Giant fan.
How long can we prolong this segment, guest?
Do we have any other raffles we can do before we start this?
Want to throw up everybody throw a quick 100 out. We'll just give money away so we don't have to talk about it.
You guys more of those Delco bags?
We were going to give away NBA Finals tickets, but can't do that now.
Yeah, nope, sure can't.
When we last left you, the Sixers had tied the series at 2-2. We asked the question. We said it. What would be the most Sixers way for this thing to end? And I hit the nail on the head, boys. I said that they would whoop the Celtics in Game 5 and then drop Game 6 and Game 7. And that's exactly where it was. You guys want to talk about Game 5 and Game 6, or should we just jump into the mud of what was Game 7?
I'll say this as being down there Game 6. It was I text you guys. In the 7 years I've had my season tickets, that was the loudest, the most insane crowd that I've ever seen in person at Wells Fargo Center. The other one being the 2019 Game 4 against Toronto. Ironically enough, we lost both those games.
Yep.
I mean, that crowd was ready to go. We were standing from 6 minutes left in the third quarter till the end of the game, and they fed off the crowd in the negative way instead of in a positive light. I feel like they almost like crunched under the pressure of the crowd instead of feeding off of it. I mean, they were up 2. Think about that. We were a 1 quarter, not a game. We were a quarter away from knocking those rats out and going finally to the finals. A quarter away. And we went out like that, like whimpers. 5 whimpers on the court.
It's almost to be expected with this group. This group was made to let you down. And they continue to do it. Game 7, it was tied 55-55. They were down 3 at half.
We were controlling the first quarter.
The first quarter they had control. Tobias makes it 3 in the beginning of the third quarter to make it 55-55. And then I think you looked up and it was 80-58.
Yep.
They completely fell apart. Joel Embiid and James Harden laid complete monster eggs. And the rest was history. Jason Tatum had a Game 7 for all time. Tip your cap to him. The dude didn't have a good series, but crunch time Game 6 and Game 7 put that team on his back and won on the series at the end of the day.
He did what a superstar, elite, MVP caliber player is supposed to do. It's pretty simple. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say that I thought the game was over in the first quarter, but there was a 2 consecutive possessions that the Sixers had where Joel Embiid had the ball by himself under the basket, hesitated, didn't get a shot up, and for some reason kicked it out to Tobias Harris for a 3, which he missed. Jaylen Brown comes down, scores a bucket on the other end. And then the very next possession, James Harden crosses up his man off of a screen, has a wide open lane to the basket going up the right side, and kicked it out to PJ Tucker for a 3. Yeah. When I watched those two, Joel Embiid and James Harden, make that decision right then and there, I said to myself, I don't think we're going to win this game because they already were showing the jitters of not wanting, the ghost of Ben Simmons that still haunts this friggin' team of not wanting to shoot the basketball.
Chris, you've defended Joel all season. Go for it. How about it?
I'm glad you gave me the floor to do that. I'm a man of principle. But I'm also an honest guy. And I'll tell you, I owe you both an apology. Because nothing about what happened Sunday was not already mentioned by both of you. Almost like a script. It was almost to a script of exactly how this would play out. I'm as guilty as anybody else out there that's defended this guy all these years, that's continued to fall down on the mat and pick myself up all these years and die on the hill for this guy all these years. Well, I'm dead. All right. I'm dead. I'm on the hill. I'm dead. This team, as a leader of this team, Joel has to show up in these moments. James Harden has to show up in these moments. And they both led this team in the playoffs. They both led this team in this round right off a cliff. And it's disgusting. It's maddening. And we're lucky that we didn't do this yesterday at 6:00 because it probably would have been my last one because I would have probably been cursing up a storm to the point where we would have probably got like shut down somehow, some way. But
I'm gonna put on the podcast explicit material, so feel free to drop F-bombs tonight if you feel that
I can't. I don't know if I have any left. When I watched that press conference after the game, and I saw Joel literally say that we can't do it alone, I said, "What? Who is he talking to?" And he can't be talking to us. He can't be talking to the people in the media in that room that time. If he's talking to those players got to be pissed off. I mean, imagine being in that position. Imagine being Tyrese Maxey, who at times looked like, I'll say this. In game 6, when I was there, they had times where, I don't know if you saw it or not, or caught on TV, but there were times where they brought the ball up the court in the third quarter, Joel and Maxey, with Harden in the backcourt calling for the ball. They wouldn't give it to him. I don't know if you guys caught that. There's about 3 or 4 times we counted in the third quarter alone. They did not give Harden the ball because they knew it was a black hole and they would not get it back, and that would be it for the whole possession. This guy will never win a championship. James Harden. He will never win a championship.
He's done.
He has that style of play. We were 100% right all these years, and we're still right to this day. We'll never win a championship. And as much as I hate to say it, Joel Embiid will never win a championship, at least not as the number 1 guy, because of A, being a center, and B, because of the heart. And on top of that, the whole MVP discussion, like, he's made a fool now out of everybody. Because, and I'm not sitting here saying like the guy's trash can't play basketball. He's a great player. That's why we're so pissed off, because of how great he is and how low he showed up. He made us all, not made us, but he had us all defending him as the MVP of the league all these years. He had us all going to bat for him, being in the front line of the war against Nikola Jokic and all the Nuggets fans and everybody else for all these years. And then to come out small like that, it made me feel like, honestly, like a kid who bitched and complained about getting candy and then finally got the candy and had a mouthful of cavities from it. That's how I felt when I watched a game like that last night. 15 points for him, 24 points for the two of them to combined is not even half of what Tatum did on his own.
2 in the second half for Joel last night.
Yep.
James Harden hasn't scored a point in three fourth quarters in a row.
Yep.
It's not just Embiid. Harden is equally, if not even more so, a problem in this situation.
Joel Embiid has, and this is again where we came from earlier this year. Joel Embiid's playoff flaws have been hidden by the fact that the first time he was in the playoffs was the whole team was young. It was their first go around. You gave him a free pass. The second time was Toronto. We lost at the buzzer. Everything kind of got washed away because we were so close. The way the shot went in,
But Gasol was up in him for a lot of that series too.
Say it again.
Gasol was up in him a lot in that series.
I got stats. We'll get to it. But we were like, we're there. We're there. We're at the point. We got an unlucky break. We're there. The next year was the bubble, whatever, the horrible year. The year after that was the Ben Simmons fiasco. The year after that, he's hurt. He's playing great. He gets his face broken. He gets his finger broken. He's never performed in the playoffs. This year, 23 points, 9 rebounds, 43% shooting from the field, 17% from 3, 4 turnovers per game. That's a 10-point drop-off from what he averaged in the regular season. He averaged 33 points per game in the regular season. Last year in the playoffs, 23 points per game, down from 30 points per game in the regular season. In that Hawks series against when Ben Simmons is imploding, in game 6 and 7, he had 8 turnovers in game 6. He had 8 turnovers in game 7. He went 0 for 12 in the second half of game 4 that they lost against Toronto. Game 4. You remember game 3, they blow Toronto out.
Yep.
Everybody thinks we're going to the Eastern Conference Final.
And he had a good game 3, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, the whole team had a great game.
Right.
The game 4, they have a chance to put the nail in the coffin. Pascal Siakam is questionable. He plays hurt, but doesn't do anything. Joel Embiid goes for 11 and 8 on 2 for 7 shooting in game 4. Yep. Game 7 against Toronto, 6 for 18 shooting from the field. The guy has never brought it in the playoffs. Never. And that's what makes him even more of a pussy, is that guy will do it all day against Utah, Orlando, Washington. In the regular season, he'll have at it. But in the playoffs, he doesn't do it because teams start to press up on him, and he doesn't even bring energy or effort. He started that game yesterday, and he had no juice. I texted you from the first 4 minutes of the game. He had no energy at all.
Very low energy.
You see it right away.
He's scared. He's like scared to death to make a mistake.
Yep. Adam, you mentioned the drop off in points. You probably saw the stat. It's the biggest drop off in points for an MVP from the regular season to a playoff in NBA history.
Yeah.
All right. This dude is completely absent in the playoffs. He's and listen, if you're listening to this right now and you are still for some reason a supporter of this man and a supporter of him being his Philadelphia 76er, we need to convince you otherwise, because you're holding on for dear life. You're on life support, and we need to pull the plug. He is a loser physically. He is a loser mentally. Adam, I knew you were going to bring the stats. I'm glad you did, because I didn't look up any stats because I'm trusting the goddamn eye test that we've seen with our eyes for the last 7 years out of this man. It's all the stuff you just said. He couldn't beat Marc Gasol one-on-one in 2019. In 2023, this year, he couldn't beat a 37-year-old Al Horford one-on-one. Al Horford took his lunch every single game because the man can't turn around and put his back to the basket.
Always has.
Well,
He could barely even beat friggin' Marcus Smart one-on-one. That's a problem. When you're the MVP of the league, you're 7'1", and you cannot beat a guard one-on-one in the paint. He held the ball with the same gentleness that you hold, probably, Adam, that you hold your treats for your dog to take from your fingertips. He holds the ball out there. Boston Celtics defenders just come and take it from him. And when he's tapped out, you know it. You know it. You see it on his face. You see it in his body language. And when the game and the series start to slip away, Joel Embiid doesn't want it more. He wants it less. And I think maybe he's conditioned at this point, because this story has played out this way so many times. He's come to accept that he can't change the narrative. And simply put, that's why he's not elite, and that's why he's a loser.
Game 6, I watched Tatum specifically throughout that game to see where his heart was at, because he was struggling. He was going through it. He was 1 for 12 or 13,
14,
whatever it was at
1 for 14.
He was awful the first 3 quarters. And I was like, first of all, he's not this bad to be like this the whole game. So he's going to come with it a little bit in the fourth. But not only did he do that, you couldn't tell that he was 1 for 14 that whole game. Yep. He looked the same as he always has. He still gave 110%. He still was shooting the shots that he would shoot. He still was playing within his role within the game, and he wasn't pouting, he wasn't slouching, he wasn't doing any of that. But I will say this. It's not as much as it is Embiid's fault. Let's not kid ourselves that he's like, you can get away with this with one loser mentality player. We unfortunately have 3 losers on this team. We have him. We have James Harden. We have Glenn Rivers. Glenn Rivers has lost 5 straight game 7s. 5 straight game 7s. They had a stat earlier today talking about Richard Jefferson that was something on NBA Today, and he was saying how, like, well, I can actually kind of justify a little bit the last 5. Bro, there's 5 on top of that one. What are we talking about? He lost 10 out of 16 game 7s in his career. He's 16-33 as a head coach when his team has 3 wins in a playoff series. Okay? He's one reason we've lost. Because at first he was doing really well throughout the playoffs. He had a great series against Brooklyn. Even the first couple games against the Celtics, he wasn't bad. I think leaving Melton in a lot was an issue. I think not going through Maxey more often in the offensive set instead of letting James just have the ball and hog it basically for the in the half court was a problem. I think defensively, he ran into an issue when Tatum would go off in game 7. They didn't really make they pretty much just let him do what he was going to do. And I think that they probably were saying, well, let him get his and we'll shut everybody else down. But we couldn't even get to that point because we couldn't make a damn basket because they didn't run any plays. Okay? So with Harden, I got a couple things. 6 times he shot under 30% field goals in elimination games, which is the most such games in the shot clock era. I said about Rivers 10 career game 7 losses as a head coach, which is also the most. No other head coach in NBA history has lost more than 5. Okay, so he's doubled up the league in that tally. And then when you talked about Ben Simmons, Seltzer, if I told you when we got James Harden that James Harden's last game as a Sixer, last playoff series as a Sixer, would not end in a championship, but would end up with him being even worse than Ben was in his last game as a Sixer. Ben Simmons in that game 7 against Atlanta only had 5 points, but he was 2 for 4 from the field. He also had 8 boards and 13 assists. We forget about the 13 assists. James Harden had 9 points, but he was 3 of 11 from the field, 6 rebounds, 7 assists.
First of all,
What did we even get? We got what, 3 or 4 more wins overall over the span of a season with Harden over Ben Simmons, and that's really what we got for that trade.
why are you so sure that this is James Harden's last game as a Sixer?
If it's not, then we got even bigger problems. If it's not,
we're going to get into that in a little bit. But listen, I agree. There's nothing where you say Harden was terrible.
He's got his man down there, the Asian kid, the poor Asian kid in the wheelchair going to, but he didn't want to go to Boston to see that.
Doc Rivers. I mean, listen, I didn't think Doc did a horrible job. There's only so much you can do as a coach. And again, people are like, well, he should get those guys ready to play. You shouldn't have to fire up your team leaders to play in a game 7.
I agree with that, Silver, but these numbers are, it's not just a trend.
No doubt. Like Doc, none of us here are Doc fans. I'm just saying, if you're placing blame, he's way down on the totem pole compared to the other two.
Absolutely.
And listen, with that. I'm not giving James Harden a pass because he played 5 terrible games, but he did win us 2 games. And I sat here last week and said we need Joel to win us a game, and he didn't do it. He had an opportunity to do it in the fourth quarter of game 4 where Harden bailed him out. He had the opportunity to do it in the fourth quarter of game 6. He didn't do it. He had the opportunity to do it yesterday, and he didn't show up in any of those games.
I think talking about or debating Harden versus Embiid, who's to blame more, is like trying to figure out between chitlins and liver and onions which tastes worse. Like, it doesn't matter. They're both trash. They both suck. They're both not good. And both of those guys were not good, bottom line. And it cost us a season. And now, I said it before earlier in the year when I was defending the guy, if this happens again, the Sixers need to have a tough conversation. The fan base has already made that decision on where they're comfortable with the future of this organization. I think that's pretty clear. Over the last 24 hours, it seems like this fan base is comfortable with whatever tough decision is made.
Chris, I can't sit here with a straight face though and not say that Joel Embiid is not. I mean, if we're putting percentages on this, he's got to be 75% of the reason why we lost that game. James Harden didn't play well, but like, I just don't understand what the expectation is for him. He won us 2 games. Like, we know, like, we kind of know what he is. We know, like, yes, he played like shit. I'm not defending James Harden. He played like shit, but I'm not going to rake him when Joel Embiid went out there and laid a complete egg. Doc Rivers, there's nothing he can do from the sideline from a coach's standpoint when his 2 best players go out there and combine for 24 points. I'm not gonna defend Doc Rivers, but the game 7 losses, some of them, like, it's the Ben Simmons game. It's the Clippers against the Nuggets where Kawhi Leonard and Paul George lay eggs. Very similar to this game. It's the Clippers against the Jazz when Blake Griffin is hurt and Chris Paul does nothing for them.
Guess what? Then it's bad. Then my man's got bad mojo, and I don't want that near my organization.
Listen. I want him gone. I want him gone too. We need something else. Whether it's Monty, whether it's Nick Nurse, whether it's we bring up Cassell, or whether you know what we should do, dude? Take somebody from Miami. Grab an assistant. Grab somebody. Grab the kid from the tape room, like Coach Spo came from, and stick him in the head coach position.
Yeah,
because we got to do something here.
Yeah. Well, you know who I want.
I want to talk. So I want to do 2 different things.
Okay.
What you would like to see happen in the offseason and what you think will happen in the offseason. It's completely 2 different things. So Chris, you were about to start. So why don't you let's start with what we think will happen.
Dude, what I think will happen is Josh Harris will come on the exit interview press conference, and he's so caught up in his commander sale that he's going to probably pay zilch attention to this, and he's going to say, I don't have time for it. We're all coming back. We're going to have to figure it out. I don't expect Morey to go anywhere. I don't expect Doc to go anywhere. Even though at that press conference yesterday that he had, giving the answer of, when asked if he'll be back next year, well, I have, I think 2 more years. What kind of comment is that? So yeah, I'm the leader of this team as a head coach. I'm going to lead my guys. I believe in them still. We're going to get back at it and try this again. I mean, I got 2 more years. And with a shrug, really? So, but nonetheless, I wouldn't be surprised if he was still back. And I think that James will be gone. I think James already had a bag packed for Houston as it was. And I think that Embiid will still be here. And I think that the change is going to be they're going to try to find a trade partner for Tobias. However, Tobias is making $39 million next year, and that trade has to match that price. I don't know
Not
who in the
necessarily.
world.
If a team has cap space in the offseason,
Well,
you can fit him.
Right. If you go into the technicalities, right. But on the for the most part, like someone's gonna have to give a good amount to still get Tobias Harris.
Right. You're not getting
You're not gonna just get him for nothing. So I think that's the move they're gonna try to make. Now, you asking me to also go right into what they should do, or are you gonna ask?
No, we'll go around again for
Okay, go
what
ahead.
you should do. Al, you have any thoughts on Chris's what will happen?
It just plays out in your mind almost what Chris said with the press conference. If Morey is still the GM, I don't see a world where any major changes are made. I mean, it's the tea leaves are there, right? With Harden wanting to go back to Houston. I mean, Woj must have money on this or something because she's been shoving it down our throat for a year and a half.
And it hurts that Morey's the biggest Harden fanboy out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So listen, if I had to guess, I would say they run it back. And I think maybe Doc is the one out and they bring back Amani Williams. That would be my guess. And it's either that or it's Harden's out and Doc's back. But one of them's back. And I don't want either of them.
I think Monty goes before they even make this decision. I think he's picked up by somebody.
I agree with Al. I have a terrible feeling in my gut that James Harden is back because of the Morey connection. And because, as we'll discuss with things that we want to see, their hands are basically tied. There's not a lot that they can do, even if Harden walks.
So I don't even care anymore.
I agree with you. We'll talk about that when we get into things we want. But for them, I think they're so hell-bent on trying to win a championship, and I'm talking about Daryl and Harden and Embiid, that they're just going to say, let's try it again. We lost to the best team in the league in 7 games. We can do it again if we just develop this or develop that. And it's not meant to be. Doc will be gone. Harden will be back. Joel will be back. And we'll have the same conversation again next year.
Well, I will say this. I think that Harden's option is $35.6 million. I don't think there's a world where he's going to be cool with being on a team where he's not paid as much as Tobias Harris is.
Yeah, he's going to get maxed.
So he's going to get at least 40 from somebody. And if Daryl Morey and this organization overpay and outpay someone else willing to pay that 40, I'll tell you what, when we left game 6, there's a lot of folks, us included, that are like, if they do run this back, they're going to lose some money before they make the money back, because there's a lot of people that are there every game that are tired of it.
Let me tell you this. If this team signs James Harden to a max contract, that's the Death Star. The team is done.
Yeah,
that would be the worst contract in franchise history.
They won't win again until that new arena's built.
And it will be a complete albatross of a contract. The last time that this organization signed a guy to a max contract because they had no other options was the Tobias Harris contract. And how did that work out for you? If you remember correctly, him and Jimmy Butler, they traded for both of them the same year. They were both free agents at the end of that season. Jimmy walked, and the consensus was, well, we can't lose both of these guys that we traded for because of all the stuff we gave up. So we have to give Tobias a max. And now what? After year 2, it was the worst contract in basketball, some people were saying. So just because you have to do something because you have no other options doesn't mean it makes it the right decision down the road.
I agree. And it might be a hot take, I don't know, but both of you, I need wolves on this team. I need dogs. Boston has like 5 or 6 dogs. We got one puppy that's about to become a dog in Maxey. That's it. I need guys that are going to. I'd rather go out. You see my shirt?
A dog.
You see my shirt?
Dog.
I got 3 dogs on my shirt right here. For those that can't see me, I got Kobe, Michael, and LeBron. I need dogs. I need guys that are going to go out there and leave it all on the floor. And even if we lose, we at least are proud and can say, yo, they gave it all they had. I'd rather have a 40-win team that plays their ass every night and has lightning in a bottle strike than have a 50-win team that plays like this.
So you'd rather have the pre-processed team is what you're saying.
I'd rather have Spencer Halls and Drew Holiday and Evan Turner and Thaddeus Young and Nick Young and Maurice Spates. I'd rather have those guys that played their ass off and gave it all they had at least than to have these guys who think they can just win by showing up because they can't.
I have one more thing I think will happen. Ready? I forgot to mention this. They will trade Tyrese Maxey.
No.
They will trade.
That'll be it. That'll
They
be
will
it.
trade Tyrese Maxey and whatever draft assets they have left in order to gain a third star. Whether that's Damian Lillard, whether that's something like that. Dude, they're desperate. I'm not saying it's the right thing. I'm telling you that's what they're going to do.
No, Harden's not going to be. He already said for Shelbourne just reported also tonight. He doesn't want to play for Doc anymore.
Yeah, that's why they're getting rid of Doc.
Doc's gone.
Well, if he's not though, then that's another definite cog that he's going to leave.
Chris,
I don't know yet that Doc's going officially.
I saw a poll on Twitter from Sixers Nation. I mentioned it to Al before he jumped on. What would you rather have, a Harden max or another year of Doc?
Doc.
Yeah, 100%.
I can't do Harden again. I've never seen a guy that like can give you that high ups and that low downs the way he does.
Here's what I don't understand, right? And I guess we'll jump into what we want. Why let Harden walk? Fred VanVleet is there for the taking. What's the problem?
You can't get him. They don't have any cap space.
You can't. Yeah, it's the NBA.
But if things get moved around with Harden and Tobias, I'm saying
here. But then they have to. The only way it could. So I have the numbers here. Basically, the salary cap next year is going to be 134 million. That's where the cap is. The Sixers, if James Harden leaves, will be at 125 million. So they'll have roughly $9 million of cap space to spend.
Which is a mid-level exception, basically, right?
What about and I know that this is what about when Chris's boy Niang leaves and Paul Reed leaves? What's that?
That includes all of that.
That frees up. I was going to say that frees up a couple dollars.
Yeah, the lint in the pockets.
Yeah. And I'm not even convinced that they're all going to be out. Who knows?
So we could do a real quick. Where do we go from? Let's do what we want, and then we'll go. No, let's do just to give a quick roster update. Where do we go from here? Unrestricted free agents. So again, free agents that can sign with any team. Niang, Shake Milton, Jalen McDaniels. Player options for James Harden, Daniel House, and Montrezl Harrell. I would imagine that Harden's opting out for sure. I'm not sure on the other two. I would imagine Trez opts out, and maybe Daniel House is back. Paul Reed is a restricted free agent, so they'll have the first rights of any team that matches. So the only players they have under contract are Tobias Harris, Joel, PJ Tucker, DeAnthony Melton, Korkmaz, Maxey, and Jaden Springer. Those are the guys.
Maxey went. I mean, Korkmaz already obviously wants out.
And they're going to have to sign. They're going to have to sign Maxey to the extension this offseason.
I want to say before we start, there's been people, myself included, that have said we'd love to have a guy like Marcus Smart. As much as he's a pain in our ass,
I love him.
A guy like him. I'm telling you, we have him in Jaden Springer. He has to play this year. Let him play.
I think he will.
He can be just like Smart. I'm telling you.
Well, he's going to get some time because these guys, they can't bring all these guys back. Shake's got to go. Reed's got to go. Niang's got to go.
There's no way Shake's back.
Shake's going, but I think Paul will be back. If he's restricted, he'll be back.
We're going to give him a raise. Where's that money come from?
Well, you can re-sign your own guys and go over the cap. That's the way the cap works in the NBA.
This friggin' bird right, non-bird right, bird right.
No, the NBA is very complicated.
They're lucky Paul kind of didn't play well against Boston, because if he would have played like he did against Brooklyn, they wouldn't have been able to re-sign him.
No, yeah, I think he'll be back. But you said Shake is gone, Niang is gone. Who else?
McDaniels will probably re-sign.
McDaniels, I think, should be back. I actually want McDaniels back. I want to see him with a full season, see what he can do with young guys. And then who else? Harden, I do not think will be back.
House and Harrell have player options.
What are the
House is like $4 million, Harrell's $2 million.
Jesus. I would imagine
Trez is gone.
I would imagine.
I think Trez wants to play.
Yeah.
I mean, if DeAndre Jordan left and got another deal somewhere, Trez can get that.
Trez is only 29 years old.
Yeah, he'll get that.
Which is insane because he's like 45 in reality.
Yeah.
He's the kind of guy too that might play for $3 million in Turkey and be a star player in that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he needs to. I don't think he would keep that. And he also probably is a little bit of Like he probably sees the writing on the wall too. Like, yo, these guys ain't winning nothing.
Right.
He's the guy that could see that for being on other teams. And then who was the other guy you said besides Trez? Oh, House,
Yeah.
4
House
million.
at 4 million.
I
can
mean,
see it
Ennis
staying.
had that was like what James Ennis had, and he still left and got something more than that.
Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, I mean, Ennis had a really good playoff at that time.
If Harden's out, I think House is out. If Harden's back, I think House is back. I'll put it like that.
So let's go to what do you want to see happen. So Al, why don't you start it since Chris started the last one?
I don't want clean house. Light a match. I don't want anyone back except Maxey. I want them all gone. And I want them to sign Austin Rivers and make him carry everybody's shit all season long. All right. That's what I want. Listen, I know you might think that this is an overreaction, but I felt the same way about Ben Simmons. I was ahead of the curve on him just as far as the eye test, because what you see from Joel Embiid every season is the same thing in the playoffs, and I'm sick of it. I can't go through this again. He has shown his feathers. We know what he is. Chris mentioned two things about Joel Embiid. He said, A, he can't win here as the best player because he's a center, and B, because he has no heart. And it should be flip-flop. It should be A, he has no heart. B, to me, is not a viable excuse anymore, because there's a guy that plays out west that we trashed all season long that is light years ahead of Joel Embiid, and I can't sit here and hate on him anymore. Nikola Jokic is playing at an unbelievable level from the center position, the likes of which when I watch it, I do nothing but sit there with my jaw agape, just drooling over it. And he's the reason why tonight, guys, I haven't worn this article of clothing in years, but I finally dusted dusted the Nuggets cap. I've had this thing for 4 years, and I've never worn it because of him. I bought it because I like the logo.
Sheep's clothing.
I bought it because I like the logo. So I got the Nuggets hat back on, and I'll be rocking it for the rest of these NBA playoffs.
Well, he's gonna have his hands full with Anthony Davis because he's gonna have a center that can actually defend somebody. So
Anthony Davis is going to have his hands full with him.
Okay.
And I'll tell you who's not going to have his hands full with him. Marcus Smart in the NBA Finals. He would bust his ass.
Yeah, Nikola would do bad things to Marcus Smart if they tried to guard him like that.
Come on now. But in all seriousness, I do want them to just hit the reset button. They won't, because they're going to lose money, the whole nine. I get it. People aren't going to go to games. I get
Somebody
all that.
had said that too, like the sellout streak and all that. Like, why, if you're an owner, why would you dismantle it?
You would never do it. It's a dumb business move, and I get that. But from the standpoint of a fan, of somebody that wants to see the team potentially win again and win a championship someday, I think you hit the reset button. Guys, they don't have draft picks coming up. No, they have a first and second in 2024, nothing in 25, a first in 26, and a second in 27. They got nothing.
They got to go get some. That's
right.
What I'm saying with these trades. Like, it's almost like, to this point, it's just as valuable, if not more valuable, than getting an actual player asset currently back, because you got to develop these guys and make them part of your culture, which I don't even know what that is at this point.
Culture.
That's what I'm saying. Is Embiid a product of our culture, or is this culture the product of Embiid?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because he's the common. Brett Brown, Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler, soon to be Glenn Rivers. All these guys we put into this, James Harden, we put into this situation to help out Embiid and to get over the hump and win a title. And they all have tried. They all have failed. He's still here. That is the common denominator. You have to cut the cord. And I hate to say it, because I think Embiid is an amazing talent and an amazing player. And that's why why I'm so passionate about it. Because if you're that good, but you got nothing in here, I can't use you. I can't use you. And I'll say one last thing about Embiid. And it's, if anybody on any other podcast says this, I guarantee that they are listening to us and they're going to steal it, because nobody else has mentioned this. All right. Joel Embiid told us who he was in 2014. And here's what I mean. The story goes, when he went to Kansas and he had that rough practice, and he told Bill Self, what? Coach, I think I might need to redshirt. And Bill Self said, bro, You're the best dude I got. You're about to be the number 1 pick. There's no way you're redshirting, right? In 2015, when he had to sit out a second season because of his foot not healing right because it was still growing and the bone wasn't healed, he came out and he said after the fact he contemplated going back to Cameroon and just retiring because he didn't know if he could actually withstand being away from home and this and that. When someone tells you who they are, believe them. He's told us who he was years ago. Those are 2 stories to show a lack of heart and a lack of desire. Now, I will give him credit. Skill-wise, he has developed and gotten better. But again, if you don't have the heart, you got to go to Oz, bro. Straight, like you got to go to Oz. You got to get the heart because I can't use you with your skills if it's empty, if it's hollow. And that's where I'm at right now with Joel Embiid, as much as I hate to say it. They got to cut the cord.
Is it hard or is it fear? Because I think they're 2 different things.
I think it's a little bit of both. Honestly, I think it's the fear of it's almost like when someone's a fear of rejection, like they don't want to go out and take that step and go across the line, so to speak. He's afraid of failing and letting the team down. Like you could see him overthinking on the court.
That's what I'm saying. He had yesterday a lot of times where he would get that ball and had that 15-footer. Horford was a step off of him, giving him that shot, and he took that shot the entire season. And then all of a sudden he starts trying to back down and back down. He's moving slow.
Him and
he didn't
James
know what he wanted to do with the ball, and you never see that from him in the regular season. Never.
No. Him and James, but especially him, they've gotten the ball, and it literally looks like you're playing 2K and trying to figure out what button you're going to hit to do the move because he looks like he's in like a 5-point stance to do anything, and then he just sits there, pivots, pump fakes, does all this, that. Nothing happens. Then he goes into a post up, and then he just passes it out in the playoffs. I'm saying, like, that's a lack of belief. That's a lack of desire. It's both of them.
Confidence.
He's shown he doesn't have both of them. Like, how can you sit there as a man and let that dude take your heart like that yesterday? How can you sit there and watch that?
He doesn't have the confidence. He's not built for it, dude. Like there are players that are greats, all-time greats, that lacked that intestinal fortitude when the time mattered most. And that's just who he is. And that's why he's a great player, but he won't be a legendary player.
Al, I'm sure you've had a student, at least one student somewhere along the line, if you don't have one now, where you think that they're a good kid, you think that they are capable of so much, but they still are immature and they still mess up, they still get in trouble, they still do this and that, and you're like, you know what? They got to figure it out themselves. Like I can't do it anymore. That's how I am right now with that dude.
Even more, no, see, I would compare it more to the student who he or she thinks she's high and mighty, raising their hand all the time, this and that. They always got the answer. Then when it comes time to take that test, they bottle up. They're asking me a million questions. They're not confident. They're getting up. They're nervous. They're heads down, almost in tears because they can't perform when it comes to crunch time, which I've had that before. And that's what I feel like Joel Embiid is. For whatever reason, he just doesn't step up. He shrinks. He shrinks.
And Harden's done it just as long as he has. And they're on they're the same team.
And he's been camouflaged by all the other flaws that have happened in all these playoffs.
Yep.
And now there's nobody hiding. There's no way to hide.
Yep. 100%.
Because he's at the forefront. And Chris, you
Dominator.
apologize. Credit to Al. We were on it. We were on it. I said last night, if you go back and listen to episode 22, which was from December, it was after they lost that Rockets game. There's about a 15-minute dissertation. And I flat out said that we will never win. Joel Embiid in the playoffs will always let you down. That's a quote. Will always let you down.
Yeah, but I taking credit. I mean, you don't want to be right with that.
I don't want to, but we are.
The whole time I would say that, I said, I want him to prove me wrong. I want to be wrong. The whole time I shit on Ben Simmons for 5 years, I said, I want this man to prove me wrong more than anything in the world. I'll wear his jersey at the parade, but it is, dude, the eye test is the eye test. We've been watching sports long enough where Yep.
Do you think that, to play devil's advocate, with all this being said now in hindsight, is there any merit to Ben Simmons and his feelings towards Joel Embiid and this organization at the end?
Like maybe the feelings towards them as players, but Ben collapsed. Ben crumbled too.
I agree. He chose to crumble in his own right.
Yeah.
I don't think that he can blame anybody for any of that other than himself.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm saying is because like there was times when he would like be passive aggressive and things like that towards Joel, whether in a press conference or even on the court when you see body language. And just wondering what you guys thought about that as far as if there was any merit to at that point.
I'm not ready to go there.
Ben's an influencer more than an athlete. I've said that a million times. And I wouldn't be honestly surprised if it's some of his loser ass attitude that rubbed off on Joel all those years and grounded him down to the loser that he is today.
And how and it makes you wonder too, how is Jimmy and Joel so tight when Jimmy is not that guy at all? In fact, they're yin and yang because Jimmy looks like he doesn't care during the regular season and picks it up 5 notches in the playoffs, and Joel's the opposite.
Because Jimmy is the guy that Joel needs to play with because Jimmy wants to be the man and Joel doesn't. Joel has shown he can't be the man. And I still think we've asked, can Joel win a championship? I've said Joel can win a championship, and I still believe that, but he can't do it as the best offensive player on your team. You need a guy who can be a Jason Tatum, who can go get buckets. And Joel, you play second fiddle. We don't have to run offense through you. Play defense. Because honestly, outside of yesterday, after he quit and Jason Tatum was cooking him the entire third quarter, defensively, he had a really nice series. And he was an anchor in there. But that's not enough if you're the MVP. That's not enough if you're MVP of the league and you average 34 points per game and you're going to drop off to 23.
And you talk about the eye test, Al, he can see his team needs him offensively.
Yeah,
right.
At what point does it not click like, all right, give me the rock. This is enough.
Again. And he did it a little bit in the second quarter. For like 3 possessions in a row in the second quarter, he went to work. And then that was it.
As a grown man, I keep saying it again and again. You watch this guy literally on Mother's Day. It was like he was slapping his mom in the face and he didn't do shit about it. He just watched him do it and didn't even try to answer it. He didn't try to counter it. He just sat there and folded up.
And dude, I don't know what's worse. Somebody who just has all the skill and doesn't do it, or somebody who does it in the regular season regularly, and then once the playoffs start, say, nah, I can't do it anymore. That's what makes it a million times worse. We've seen him take big shots in big regular season games. We've seen him go for 50 and 60 points and toy with guys and just dominate. And then it just disappears.
Yep.
Yeah, he has, and I was listening to the radio on my way home tonight, and somebody was saying, like, one more year, if we just get a Jimmy Butler kind of guy to play alongside. And I'm like, dude, how many guys do we need?
Yep.
You got that. Isn't that what PJ Tucker was supposed to be? He's not great skill wise like Jimmy, but he was supposed to be the leader, the influencer, the person who was bringing the mental toughness. That's the word of the year, mental toughness for the Sixers. And at the end, Tobias, who ironically wasn't mentally tough at the end either, said we didn't have mental toughness.
You either got it in you or you don't. That's what it is.
Because you can have guys like PJ Tucker talking to you all day long. If you don't buy into that because you're too afraid or because you don't believe in yourself, it doesn't matter what they're saying.
And his body
they're doing.
His body language when PJ was talking to him and barking at him, even that was piss poor. You could see he wanted no parts of PJ talking to him. I just don't understand why, if this guy is the MVP of the league and he's so great, why do we keep having to put this on role players? Why do we keep having to find the perfect fit? It should be Joel Embiid's bringing everybody else up and carrying these guys to a title, no matter if it's a Georgia Yang, Seth Curry, JJ Redick. It shouldn't friggin' matter.
I believe, I know since 2000, but I could probably go back further. The only MVP who has never gotten out of the second round in the history.
They posted that on social today. He's the only MVP to not make it to a conference final.
So, another thing too is with this second fiddle thing and with him getting stars that fit with his, like, you got to be able to recruit guys if that's the route you want to go. Joel Embiid doesn't seem to have a lot of, and I could be wrong, doesn't seem like he has a lot of friends in the NBA.
Agreed.
At least like great player friends. He works out with Tatum a lot because Drew Hanlen's they're both of their trainers. And we've heard him with his relationship with Jimmy Butler. Other than that, we don't really hear a lot about this guy was hanging out with Seth Curry because of Under Armour. That's the third guy. That's what I meant to say. Other than those three, we don't really hear a lot about Joel Embiid with this guy, with that guy, or this guy going out on a limb and saying that Joel is this and that. We don't hear a lot about that. So I'm wondering internally in the league, if the Sixers would have a hard time recruiting those kind of guys to play with Joel, because guess what? Those guys talk. We saw what Lillard just posted the other day. Like, what?
Yeah.
About that press conference.
Yeah.
Do you want to play with a guy like that?
I mean, look, he also he's not a guy who goes out a lot, and I think that lifestyle, I think that's how a lot of those bonds grow. He's kind of a homebody, and I think that affects his relationship with certain guys to a point. But
Yeah,
I hear you, Chris. There's not a lot of guys you hear that are tight with Joel other than Jimmy. And I said earlier this year I wouldn't be surprised if Jimmy was a Sixer next year, but it's more likely that Joel's on the Miami Heat at this point.
Well, if they trade him to the Heat, first of all, if you're going to trade Joel in his MVP year, you got to get a King's ransom back or don't do it. And I don't think that Miami has a King's ransom to do that trade. But the only way to do that trade is if you feel like 100% certain that he cannot win a title, and you make them worse by adding him to that team and pulling away the pieces that would help them win. And I don't know if they even have those pieces that would not only pull that off, but also make us better in the process. I don't know if that team has those pieces at this moment.
First of all, wait a minute. We got to try to avoid saying that P word from now on. That P word's got to be out of our lexicons.
Which one?
Process.
Oh, because there's several of them I'm thinking about.
Process. But if we make a trade with Miami, we could bring our boy Duncan Robinson to Philly. We have a reason to talk about him, guys. This is 4 straight pods that we brought his name up. Adam, I don't know if you wanted to continue with the Miami Heat talk, but I just thought of this. I wanted to give you guys a quick exercise. Just give me the yes or no answer here. Don't really, articulate too much about it. But I'm going to name an organization, and are they in better shape than the Sixers?
Okay.
Going forward right now, where we stand right now today, May 15, 2023.
Okay.
Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yes.
No.
Cleveland's in better shape, Adam?
Yes.
Chris, you say no?
No.
Okay. New York Knicks.
No.
Yes.
Miami Heat.
No.
You said not to articulate, so no.
Adam, your boys, the Orlando Magic.
Oh, jeez. Dude, come on. Like, this ain't, don't be disrespectful.
I'm naming like 8.
No, but talk to me after the draft lottery next week.
Chris, no?
No.
Golden State Warriors.
That's a good one. Well, Al, for the record, are you saying for next year or the next 5 years?
Going forward, which organization is in better shape for the future? Set right now.
Golden State.
The Sixers.
Golden State still got a second level of dudes that ain't really even played like that yet.
Who?
That are good.
Who?
Rudy, Kuminga.
You think they're good? If they were good, they would have played. They couldn't even get in over JaMychal Green this year.
No.
We sit here and we wait for some of these guys.
They're
Sometimes
still
they're not good. Huh? They also have Jordan Poole making $33 million a year, who sucks too.
Might be a future Sixer, Jordan Poole.
Oh, God.
Let's hope not.
All right, just 3 left. Minnesota Timberwolves.
No.
They're
another loser organization.
Yeah, they're right in the middle with us. They're worse than us.
Big time. Phoenix Suns.
No. Not for the future, no.
Yeah, they got Booker, so yeah.
Last one, I think the most interesting, Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yes.
Seltzer, they don't even have a coach right now.
That's fine. Neither do we.
But I mean, they don't have a coach.
They'll get one.
Yeah, but
what do we have? What do we have that makes you so excited in the future?
We have nothing.
We have no draft picks. We got Tyrese Maxey, and we've got Joel Embiid, who we just trashed for 40 minutes. What else? I think
if Maxey gets 25 to 30 shots like Booker does, he could be like Booker.
Booker's better, but I love Maxey, but Booker's better.
Right now, I'd agree with that. I mean, I'm just saying
we have nothing. Feeling. What we have is Joel Embiid as a trade piece, and maybe that's why I didn't value enough going forward.
We have a better market than they do.
Barely anymore, dude. People ain't kicking the door down to come to Philly, man.
So I guess this is where we didn't talk about what we would want. I'm in a similar boat to Chris. I would let James walk. I would shop Joel. I don't think they're going to shop Joel unless he asks for a trade.
It's got to be quietly though. You can't have him request one because that'll diminish his value.
And then I would not trade Tobias yet this offseason because think if you put Tobias in a situation this year where, again, it's Tyrese Maxey, it's Tobias and a bunch of kids, I think he can still average 20, and then you can get more for him at the trade deadline than you would be able to get him this offseason.
And it'd be less money that a team would have to.
Exactly. So it
pick
doesn't
up.
hurt to just keep him, let him get his shots up, and see if you can manage to get a first round pick for him at the trade deadline. So
I want to extend Maxey as soon as possible.
yes, that's a must.
I want to shop Embiid. I'm not saying I'm going to trade him just yet for anything. I want to shop him, see what the best offers are out there. Harden, I'm not letting come back under any circumstance, as Dylan Brooks and the Memphis Grizzlies have already coined that phrase for this summer.
Should we do a 1-for-1 swap?
So you know what I was thinking now the other yesterday when we had that conversation about Embiid and Morant, and I'm even more so on your side now. Like, I do not want that guy on this team.
Yeah, no, not after this weekend.
No.
I don't want that at all, and it's too much of a problem. But I would trade Embiid. I'll tell you a sleeper team to look out for. I think if we're going to talk about that, I know we'll get into that later on down the road. But aside from Miami, which is the worst kept secret for Embiid, what about the Lakers or the Warriors?
Who we bring?
What are you getting back?
I'm sorry, not the Lakers, the Warriors.
What are you getting back?
Well, I'm just saying, as far as if they wanted to take one last ride with that group, and if you ship us those young guys, the Poole, Kuminga, Moody, a couple picks, put Embiid with Draymond, Clay, Steph. I'm wondering, and he don't have to even be the third. He could be the third fiddle on that team.
I don't think it's enough for the Sixers. Jordan Poole has negative value after this year with his contract.
Do you think that if he was an actual number 1 or 2 option on a team, he would actually produce more than what he's given them currently?
Number wise,
I think he could be a poor man Steph. I think he's better than like D'Angelo Russell, but I think he's
probably the worst defensive player in the entire league. And I do think he can get his points, but I don't think it's bad decision making along the way. And again, at $35 million, I don't have any interest in that.
I just want Wolves, man. Like I said, I want guys that are going to come and try to eat your lunch. They don't care if you won 50 games or 10 games.
Like last year's Toronto team, like a bunch of those guys.
I miss the team when we first got, like, that team with Dario, Covington, JJ, friggin' Stauskas. Those guys, we went almost they were fun, man. Like, we knew we had a ceiling with those guys.
You know we're in a bad spot.
Mike Scott was a bad dude.
My God. Oh my God.
In the parking lot. Like, that's what I miss.
When we're pining for friggin' Mike Scott and Rocco, dude. Come on, man.
I mean, not that I'm missing those guys specifically, but I'm just missing that environment that we had.
I know what you're saying.
That hope for something.
Well, it's that's part of the problem with this team now too. Is the expectations are too damn high. Because this is the same team. We're getting to the same spot that we did pre-process that made us tank, where we were getting to the first and second round with that Iggy team every year, but we knew we couldn't win. But now we're getting to the first and second round, but we think we can win it all. It's even worse.
And we were sitting here saying, like, and I definitely have said this, that I thought the winner of this series would be in the driver's seat to win the championship. After what we saw yesterday, even if we somehow went out the back door with a win, there's no way we're beating the Heat.
No.
There's no way we're beating the Lakers.
Yeah, maybe. No. We weren't beating the team out west, whoever that was.
No way.
Like, Miami played as well all year as it was.
Yeah.
So I think we might have went for another Philly ending in the finals where we would have fell short to an 8 seed.
Denver and LA both would sweep the Sixers. They would have no problem beating the Sixers.
Yeah, right now, agreed.
Yeah, that's the sad.
I don't know about sweep, but they would beat
Denver them. Denver would sweep the Sixers.
Let me ask you guys this, unless we can wrap it up afterwards. 3 Game 7 losses in the past 5 years. Rank them. Which one hurt the most to the least? So you have Atlanta, Boston, and Toronto as the 3 options. I can go first here. For me, the one that hurt the most was Atlanta.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, because that was the year we were the 1 seed. We set up the path. It was Wizards, Hawks. It was a given that we were going to make the conference finals. And to go out the way it went out just felt so empty. I have Boston as number 2 just because it feels like the end of an era. And I have Toronto, as heartbreaking as that 3 from Kawhi was, there was a feeling of optimism when that series was over that it was like, we got to run it back with these guys. This was only our second year. Like, we have so much in our future. And while that hurt in the moment, 2 or 3 hours afterwards, I was fine. I was not fine 2 or 3 hours after Atlanta or Boston. So that's why I have them in those orders.
Wow. I was hurt the most by Toronto. And the reason why is because we were potentially one missed shot away. I mean, that's as close as you can get.
Potentially, but it's still overtime.
No, I get that. I get that. But that's how close we were. And that's just like, I mean, that's Joe Carter all over again, that shot. Like, that hurt, man. That still hurts. I can't watch that.
Yep.
2021 and this year were both like all like disgusting, depressing, but almost like, well, 2021 for me was liberating because it was, you knew it was the end of the Ben Simmons era. And for me this year, it's almost liberating again because you know it should be the end of the James Harden, Doc Rivers era period, at least those two, and potentially the Joel Embiid era, which I hate taking, I hate being, quote, right about that. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm not right about that. Maybe Joel Embiid wins the title in Philly someday. I don't want to be right about that. But these losses, these last two, were more just depressing, deflating, and like, again, liberating than the hurt that came with 2019.
Al, you hit it right on the head. I think Toronto was definitely number 1 for me still. And this is a great question because they're all they're all equally painful for different reasons.
Right. They're so different.
Yeah.
So, but Toronto for me is like, I always say I would have rather gotten blown out like we did yesterday than have my heart ripped out at the last second like Toronto was. But with that said, the fact that we showed up in Boston the way we did against Boston of all teams, like not just anybody, but to the Celtics, and lost the way we did. I was talking to a coworker today, and he said he thought it was the most embarrassing quarter in Sixers history, the third quarter. And I was thinking, I was like, yo, he might be right. That might have been the worst Sixers performance of all time in the TD Bank Garden of all places.
Yeah.
So for that, it would be number 2. And then Atlanta, Al perfectly said, we knew it was, we left that building pissed, but at the same time, we left it like, next year, we're going to come out with a point guard that actually knows how to play and is going to shoot, and we're going to be straight.
Yeah.
And it hurt that we lost at home, of course. And it hurt that we had, like you said, Seltzer, we had it lined up perfectly. But nothing is worse than just having you hang in the game for 48 minutes and to just have a shot dink off the rim 4 times and end your season is not cool.
Yeah, that's devastating, dude.
It just felt like, to me, again, maybe I'm not looking at the actual game and more so the feeling I had afterwards, where after Atlanta and Boston, it felt so hopeless, while after Toronto, it still felt like there was. I remember texting with you, Chris, after the Toronto game, being like, we have to bring Brett back. He did such a good job. We got to bring everybody else back. We got a good team. We can still do this.
Dude, there were some good GIFs that got made in that game, bro. The Brett meme when he's exhausted on the bench. That's a great meme.
Wait a minute. You're a GIF guy?
Yeah, I'm a big GIF guy. GIF, whatever they call it.
I'm a GIF guy.
Yeah, I'm a GIF.
Big GIF guy.
I have two other Joel Embiid comments based on some of the stuff he said and just one thought of my own. There was one quote he had, and I stole this from somebody on Twitter today. He said, it doesn't matter when you lose because at the end of the day, you lose. And whatever, if you want to argue that, that's fine. He's talking about what round you lose in, but it does matter how you lose. And how they went out was pathetic.
Exactly. And that goes to tell you his mentality.
Yeah.
Also, for him to make a joke about Giannis's comment.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Stop.
In the middle of losing, like, Giannis got a ring, bro. Giannis got a chip. And 2 MVPs.
Giannis got a backbone, too. Giannis plays hard all the time.
Giannis goes out there and airs balls left and right and still shoots it. Because he got heart.
And the other thing I have, you want to talk about heart? How are you going to have Bryce Harper in a freaking day game in Colorado in May show more heart than you show in Game 7 at Boston? That's a dude that the city will get behind.
Yeah. How about
That dude's got guts.
That was a weird situation.
Whatever, regardless.
I thought it was fitting that Harper was calling out the Sixers that day, calling them a loser organization.
Yeah.
Very fitting. Little do we know, he already knew the outcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure we're going to have plenty more Sixers talk in the next couple of weeks as some of the dominoes begin to fall. Again, with the Doc Rivers, with James Harden, with Joel. Again,
this is an abusive relationship, Seltzer.
Oh,
Let's not get this twisted. Because guess what? Come October, we'll be sitting here talking about the season, getting ready to go, ramping up. No matter if we got Harden and Embiid or we got Maxey and what's his name? The guy that got the domestic violence that's on the street right now, Bridges. We can sign him back, or not back, but we can sign him off the street and think we'll have a chance. Like,
yeah,
we'll be right back at it.
I said that to Megan. I said that to Megan last night.
It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
But with that said, Jackson will not be wearing his Joel Embiid jersey for the foreseeable future.
You put that on lock. Put that on.
Yeah,
put
he
that right
put
away.
it on lock. He said it too. He was like, "I'm not." He's like, "Dad, I'm putting that one in the closet. I'll wear Tyrese."
Good for him.
Good decision, son.
It's a shame, man. It's a shame.
Yeah.
We deserve better than this. We are such a passionate fan base and a dedicated fan base. We deserve better than this. It's sick.
Mm-hmm. I said to Casey last night, I was like, Casey, do you know how hard this is to be a Philadelphia sports fan and a Penn State sports fan? Like, that might be the two worst to have to deal with. It sucks. I it's year-round misery.
Like, what do we do it for?
I don't know, man. I need to get a new hobby, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to be on the golf train too. We can't really lose those.
I'm signing off. This is my last pod, dude. You gotta start talking about something else, Fabergé eggs or something, or designer bag bingo.
Yeah. Don't pick up golf. That's even worse. But I will wrap up segment 1. I'm glad we got to air out the grievances. It was a tough loss, but there's some brightness on the future. We're almost towards training camp as the NFL schedule came out last week. We're going to do a little bit of an Eagles breakdown, an NFL breakdown of the schedule in segment 2. We'll be right back.
All right.
Welcome back to segment 2. The NFL schedule was released last week. Gentlemen, any immediate observations when you look at the schedule that gets released?
So for me, when I looked at it, the first thing that popped out to me was just, if we're talking from a local standpoint, the Eagles only having, 3 or 4 1:00 games this season.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I don't.
Dude, that shows we're a class of the league.
Well, yeah, yes and no. I mean, there's some of these games that I guess is 4:30. Like, I don't know. Am I out of the loop, guys? Like, is 4:30 now the marquee game?
It's
like
been a marquee game for a while. Like, Fox markets it as the game, America's game of the week.
Yeah, see, I don't pay as much attention ever since I've been out of fantasy. Like, I watch the Eagles and that's it. I don't pay attention to where the big marquee game is.
Yeah, the 4 o'clock, well, the 4:30 spot.
Yeah,
is a marquee game. Yeah.
Okay, because we're in that 4:30 spot quite often this year.
Yeah.
And it's not always because we're on the West Coast. Like, some of these, like, we're at the Jets in the 4:30 spot. We're at home against Buffalo, at home against San Francisco, at home against Giants.
I think it shows the lack of good teams in the NFC. Is what I think it shows.
We're still disrespecting the Eagles, man.
Who?
Why can't it be about the Eagles for once? Why got to be about everybody else?
Sure, it is about the Eagles. How about how they're the class of the NFC, but there's nobody else to put in those spots, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, but I feel like it's always like, well, the league ain't that great, or the NFC's
that's
we
fair.
got a
like,
great team.
More than two. One thing can be true at a time.
We could be in the AFC, we're still gonna be premier team.
Who?
We could be in the AFC, we'd still be premier team. Right
That's
now.
fine, but we're not.
Yeah, no.
The other two things I thought about was, number one, that we got to deal with Prime Video again having games. So the Thursday night game against Minnesota is on Prime Video.
Well, how about did you see that Peacock is going to exclusively air a wild card game?
Oh, dude, please. No,
1 year, 1 year, $110 million deal.
guys, we've messed up as a country, as a society. We've messed up. Like, this is why cable existed for so long, because they just boxed all this shit together, and now we've gone
Yo,
away from it, and it's such a pain in the ass.
I told you could ask people I used to work with. I had this conversation with people in 2014. I said, you all can sit up there and get rid of cable, but I'm telling you, you're going to get into a situation where you're going to have to pay $10 here for this app, $10 here for this app. Your favorite shows on the other app, you got to pay $10 for that, $7 here. You want no commercials, that's $5 extra here. And you're going to end up paying the same thing that you already paid anyway with the cable.
Yeah, but the problem is we pay for cable and we still have all those apps. It's not like having cable excludes you from having those apps. That's the problem.
Well, no, but sometimes Xfinity, for instance, Xfinity will have apps included in your subscription. Like Peacock, I haven't paid for it yet.
Gotcha. I don't have that.
It's just, no, but all these companies just realized they can double dip now, Adam. But Adam, you might not remember this. You and I had this argument maybe about 6-7 years ago or so, where you argued that all these streaming services, that it was a good thing. And I said, no, because you're going to have to pay what Chris just said.
Me? I said that?
You did. And because I said that, no, you're going to have to pay for all these different things. And your argument was, yeah, but you know, you're it's just automatic payments. You don't know where your money's going anyway. It's all set up already.
I didn't say that. That sounds so fake.
Dude, that sounds like he'd say that.
Yes, you did, dude. If I remember us throwing tennis balls at Mike Smith's ass at the University of Pitt, you bet your ass I remember that conversation about streaming services.
I'm not a huge streaming service guy.
No, you just said that it's not that big of a deal as far as convenience. And I was saying like it jumped the shark as far as convenience. Like it was convenient, but now it's going haywire.
Yeah, because it used to be just like it would be like here's Netflix is $10, not a big deal, but now it's 17 different things.
Yeah, that's the point, that there's too many.
So
end the segment. I'm pissed now.
So I actually this is great talk, I think. With Apple, for instance, Apple TV. So my little 2-second soccer thing. MLS is exclusively now on Apple TV. So they don't even have localized MLS coverage anymore. You have to have Apple to watch any MLS team unless it's on a national broadcast. It's $70 a year, and but you can watch any game.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think that's beat, because there's a lot of casual MLS fans that aren't going to pay that, and therefore they're not going to watch the games. Well, I looked it up, and I'm totally wrong, where those fans and the hardcore fans love it. And I'm wondering, the reason I bring it up is if the NFL and the NBA one day down the road, MLB, adopt that and have it where I just feel like Amazon is like 1 year away from being like, you know what, we're buying the NFL straight up. You got to have them. You got to have Prime if you want to watch the NFL. And I feel like we're not that far from that.
Who just took Sunday Ticket?
Google. I was going to say Google has Sunday Ticket. It's on YouTube TV now, and it's like $300 for the year.
Right, but you could still have, if you have YouTube TV, you can still have Red Zone if you have the sports package for YouTube TV for like $10 extra.
Yeah,
which is well worth it versus having a direct ticket or Sunday Ticket.
And that's a month. You can cancel that as soon as the season's over.
Exactly, right. So, but yeah, there's so many. That's a whole different conversation in itself as far as like the apps and the TV shows. There's so many good shows that don't even get watched because no one has time for it, because they're on all these 45 different things that people don't even have.
Listen, this conversation. The TV shows these days suck because they're also niche, because you can cater to every person individually, which is what our society wants now, is that every single person gets their needs and given to them on a silver platter.
But binge watching is a must. It's become such a better way to watch TV.
I disagree.
I'm not a binge. No, I disagree too. I'm not a binge watcher.
100%.
Dude, don't you remember? So we were watching Family Matters is on True TV now, and we were watching it, and Jackson ate it up for his love. But dude, how good was it when you knew you had to be in front of the TV Friday night at 8 o'clock to watch that show and then talk about it Saturday morning, Monday morning at school, whatever.
Yeah, we had like even like new shows, like when a couple of years ago when Stranger Things was on, came back during the pandemic, and we binged it, and then it was like, well, damn, we waited like a year and a half, and now in a day we watched it. Like, that's it. Like, there's no culmination anymore.
I guess I'm talking maybe more so from start to finish, because like if you watch a show live now between seasons, like you forget what happens.
Well, because it's so that's another thing. The production is so intense now that like it takes so much more time to renew your seasons,
With
writing and everything else. And the
with
writer's strike too is going to affect it because the
and
writer's
with COVID, I'm sure to God, Better Call Saul was off the air for 2.5 years.
yeah. Well,
Before
and then
that,
you have shows like Game of Thrones that were off like that because it takes so much to produce it now.
yeah, yeah.
Well, but binging, the other problem with being able to binge is if you're in the position where you can't binge watch your favorite show, then all of a sudden you got to avoid social media until you
Right.
finish that damn show, because if not, you're going to see a spoiler.
Yeah. I'm that way. I mean, I'm a big Survivor guy, and Megan and I will watch it live when we can, but it's Wednesdays, and sometimes we have stuff to do. And if I'm on Twitter, like it's hard to avoid seeing who got voted out that night.
I will say though, it is hard to imagine going back in time where if you missed a show, you just missed it.
You missed it. It was
That
done.
was it. Gone.
Like, yo, what happened on like Baywatch last week? Those days are gone.
Unless you recorded it on a VCR. Crazy. Let's get back to the NFL. We do want to run through the Eagles schedule, right?
Yeah, real quick though, let me talk about Christmas Day here. So what would you guys do if you were in Adam Silver's shoes, where the NFL has like come for your ass? Because the NBA, Christmas Day was always the NBA's day. And last year the NFL decided, hey, let's throw a couple games on Christmas and see what happens. And they dominated in the ratings. And so now this year they're throwing 3 games on Christmas Day, which falls on a Monday. So they're going to have games all day Sunday on Christmas Eve. And then you're going to be able to watch Christmas Day games from 1 o'clock until you fall asleep that night, because they're on at 1, 4:30, and 8:30. What do you do if you're Adam Silver? Do you just like that? Like that's it?
I don't think it's a long-term problem for him, because the NFL can only really load up on what 3 out of 7 years, depending on what day Christmas falls on. When next year when Christmas falls on a Tuesday, the NFL is not going to have games.
You don't.
You're
You
into
don't,
that?
you
Huh?
don't think they're gonna?
Man.
You don't think they're gonna force
Maybe
like,
one. They're not going to have
Panthers
3.
and the Texans? Dude, they already forced Jacksonville over to play over in Europe twice.
I don't see it happening where there's Tuesday and Wednesday Christmas Day games. Now, when you get to Thursday and Friday, like maybe you get one here or one there. Look, I mean, Adam Silver's.
I'll tell you what they should have done, and they had a chance and they didn't do it. And I know that a lot of people, it's very polarizing, the opinions on it. They should have kept the schedule where Christmas was the season opener. They should have kept that. Go into the summer. Christmas is now opening day for the NBA, and your championship, your NBA finals, is going to take place during that Labor Day week, which is going to go right into week 1 of the NFL season. So you're going to have your finals the same time as the NFL's season opener. And
The problem with that is TV ratings as a whole struggle mightily in July and August, and that would be during your playoffs.
Well, I think that's going to maximize viewers then, because there's not going to be anything else to watch.
Yeah, but people are on vacation and stuff. Like as a whole, TV, there's not a ton of TV watching because of that time of year. Like that's a fact that's the way it is. I think the COVID, the bubble year, and you could say
I love that when they had that schedule. I like that a lot.
Yeah, but the ratings were terrible, and it could be because of the bubble itself. But
I would say the bubble had a big part of it.
It could also be just the time of year.
I think that. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to change the subject. Go ahead.
Shoot, I lost my train of thought. I don't know. It'll come back to me.
Well, do you think it's disrespectful to Kansas City to send them to Germany for a game? Like, would you be pissed if the Eagles won the Super Bowl and then we got sent to Germany?
As long as it wasn't a home game.
I think it's a home game for Kansas City.
Well, that's ridiculous, because they got a great fan base and a great home field advantage. That's ridiculous to get a game from them.
Like what I'm looking at says Miami at Kansas City in Frankfurt, Germany.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, they're trying to globalize the game, and you're only going to be able to do that by sending not by only be able to do it, but you're best off doing it by sending your best teams and most marketable players overseas. And yeah, I agree with you guys. I don't think they should be penalized a home game as the world champions, but as the world champions, there's also expectation that you're going to have to live up to, which may mean extra marketing for the league because of who you are.
It makes my blood boil when we talk about the NFL going and playing these games in Europe. They don't care.
Yeah.
They don't play the game.
Yeah.
They don't care. Like the NBA, it makes sense because basketball is global. All right. Soccer, it makes sense. Soccer is global. So you have, even this year, you have several cities, Philly included, that's hosting Premier League games this summer. That makes sense. People play soccer here. There's a big, huge fan base of soccer in America, myself included. So, like, that makes Dude, Erling Haaland's gonna be here, cuz. What's up?
Yeah, that's right.
Boy, Haaland.
I saw that.
So that makes sense. NFL, American football, they don't play it. They don't care. They also up there with their jerseys from like 2005 that were from the hand-me-down shops, the old school jerseys they got and stuff like that. Like, it's not the same.
Yeah, I agree.
Chris, but if they weren't making money, they wouldn't be expanding the schedule on it.
I think that in London, they've gotten used to Jacksonville coming, and it makes them feel almost like they're a home team. And I think that they've drawn a little bit of a fan base overseas in England from that. But if you put like Washington and Houston in a game over there, and plus let's not get it twisted. You know how many people over there are from here that just go and take the trip and use it as a vacation?
Sure, that happens.
So it's not all natives.
But they're
In fact,
making
it's
money.
probably
If they
not
weren't
even
making
most
money,
natives.
if they weren't making money, they wouldn't be doing it.
They can
I
make
just
money in
understand
Kansas
it.
City instead of having them go all the way to Germany.
Right. They're making money anywhere. I always thought that the idea was that you're trying to globalize the game and eventually, I mean, they used to have the European League over there. I thought it was always the intent was to bring guys like into the game or start another league there or something. But
The
I'll
Rhine
take that.
Fire, I believe
Yeah,
that was
Fire,
called.
yeah.
You say
That's a great point. Now they had NFL Europe, and if it wasn't sustainable because the stadiums were not even a third full anymore. They didn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they also had an inferior product at that point in time.
All
I
right.
mean, NFL is going to win regard. The NFL is king. It is going to win regard. It's like WWE. You can have other competitors out there. It doesn't matter. It's still not the same.
They own a
You're
day.
always going to win.
They own a day of the week. They went head to head with God and they won.
Literally, they like people be like, "Hey, yo, man, we played Dallas this week. We going to have to miss this week at church."
Yeah. Do you guys want to go through the Eagles schedule? Obviously, there's a lot still to, take place. OTAs are going to be starting up and everything else. So, we'll give our preliminary predictions here on the schedule. We'll go game by game here, and you guys can just give me win or loss. I mean, if you want to talk a little bit about the game, go ahead. What you see, transpiring, but I got the schedule here in front of me. It starts with week 1 at New England at 4:30.
Win.
Yeah, so that's a big spot on the CBS, bro. That's a Jim Nance, Tony Romo game. Yeah, that's a win.
I was trying to look up.
Nance and Romo do the 425.
Tom Brady going in the ring of the Patriots Ring of Honor that day.
So I thought that is it for the Patriots that game, or is it the Bucks in the Monday night game in week 3? Which one is he?
No, he's going in for the Patriots.
It's the Patriots. Okay, it's still a win.
I was trying to look up real quick. There's got to be a spread on that game already, right? Because
I think it's 3.5.
3.5. I'm on FanDuel now. 4. Eagles are giving 4.
So it's going up. Yeah.
All right. Week 2 is Thursday at home against Minnesota. Thursday night game.
Is there a rule we have to play the Vikings in week 2?
Yeah. Yeah.
Every time we play the Vikings here, it's week 2.
Win. 2-0.
Hold up. This might be a recycle of like the 2001 schedule. I feel like it's like the same.
Chris, we're only doing this to bait you into a 17-0 for the
Why are you baiting me in, bro? I just said that the Eagles are the class of the league.
So all right, we all have the Birds at 2-0 so far.
Dub.
Week 3, Monday night at Tampa Bay.
Dub.
I agree. And you know what? It's nice for them to get that lengthy break before that Monday night game too, with the Thursday night game.
Yep.
All right. Week 4 is home against Washington, so that's a win.
Dub.
Win.
Week 5, they're on the road at the Rams.
Dub.
All right. Adam has a loss. Chris has a win.
A loss for how? Who's on the Rams?
So this is where I kind of, when I go through the schedule, I see Rams and Jets, and I see 1 win, 1 loss, and I you can throw it on either way. I'm fine with that, but I see him coming up with a loss in there.
I agree actually with Adam. I see it the same way that one of them is going to be a loss. I'm just not sure which game. So I have them losing that game, and then the next week is at the Jets.
So I go win.
Never lost to the Jets in history, so we'll keep it going. Even though they got Rodgers now, but
3 wins. And then the next week is against Miami Sunday night at home.
Win.
dub.
3 wins again. Next week is at Washington Sunday at 1 o'clock. I already have the W's written down. Don't even respond, guys. We're all good there. And then the next week, week 9, is against Dallas at home, 4:25 p.m. start, and it's the last game before the bye.
Loss.
Chris has win.
9-0, baby. Yo, go. Come on. Don't act like they ain't go 8-0 last year.
Dude, I got him at 8-1, so I'm right behind you. And
I got 7-2. I got a loss to
7-2.
Dallas.
All right, so we got we got the bye.
The train's rolling now. Keep it going.
Bye is week 10, which is I think a very good draw for them as far as a bye week. Week 11, guys, we're at Kansas City, Monday Night Football. What do you got?
Loss.
Dub. Yeah, that's a revenge game, dude. They gotta get that.
I got a loss as well. So we got 1 win and 2
Dude,
losses.
could you imagine though if they're both undefeated in that game, the league would blow its load everywhere.
It would be like, remember the Chiefs and Rams a
Yep.
few years ago?
Yeah.
That like 50-41 or whatever it was.
Yeah, and you know what? How smart of the league to take advantage of that, and like instead of putting that game week 1 or week 2, like potentially having a meeting of 2 undefeated, or even like 8-1, 8-1, or something like that.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
So smart. The week after that, and this is where the schedule gets infinitely harder. They're home against Buffalo at 4:30.
Win.
I got a loss in that.
Ooh, Chris, you love Josh Allen.
Yeah,
I got a loss because it's a little bit of a letdown after that Chiefs game, and they're looking towards kicking the crap out of the Whiners the next week.
We knew you weren't going to have a loss there.
Yeah.
So I got a win against Buffalo. The next week is against San Fran at home again in that 4:30 time slot again.
Win.
Dub.
So Chris has tie, Adam has win, I have win.
You said tie?
The next week is Sunday night at Dallas.
I'm in a spot again where this is like the Green Bay Jets thing to me, where I see 1-1. I just don't know how I want to break it up. I'm going to go win for Dallas because I don't want to have the Cowboys sweeping them. I already have them losing to Dallas once. So I'll go win against Dallas.
Chris?
I agree with Seltzer, but I'm trying to like label which one I think is going to be the win. Just by history, I'll say it's a loss in Dallas.
Yeah, I also have a loss. It's just, God, we can't. I mean, look, they're not. It's so hard to go 6-0 against the division, which is basically what we're saying if we give them that win.
Yeah.
All right, and then the next week they're at Seattle 4:30.
So I have lost because I gave him a win to Dallas.
Right, and vice versa for me.
Yeah, same, Chris. So Chris and I both have the win. Adam has the loss. So they split that little 2-game stretch there, weeks 14 and 15. Week 16, they're at home against the Giants at 4:30.
Win.
That's a win.
Christmas afternoon, yeah, they win that game.
Yep, that's the Christmas Day game. Week 17, they're at home against the Cardinals at 1 o'clock.
Win.
It better be a win.
That's a win. And let me ask you this: is Kyler Murray the starting quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals at that point?
If he's healthy. Like, are you asking me if he's healthy or not?
Yeah.
I don't think they have any other options this year.
I think that's also a game where the Eagles load up and try to just beat the crap out of Gannon.
Yeah, I agree.
They're out about
but I could also see that game being like the Saints game last year, where we lose and we should have won and we let a team off the hook. But my gut would say a win though.
I took Jackson to the Saints game last year on New Year's Day. I have my eyes on that being the game I take him to this year. We'll see what happens.
It's always risky though, man. It's so cold.
I know. I don't know if you remember, we got blessed with a beautiful day on New Year's
it
Day
was
this
nice.
past year.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous out for January 1st. And then the last game is at New York, time to be determined.
I got an L. I don't think it'll mean anything. If it means something, they'll win.
Yeah, it's a win.
Well, to that point, Adam, you got them at 12-4. So it may not.
12-5. 17 games.
No, I'm saying going into the Giants game, you have them at 12-4.
Yeah.
So it may not mean anything. You're right. So you have a loss. Guest, you have a win.
Yeah, the Giants are to the Eagles are the Sixers to the Celtics.
Yeah, the Giants are not.
Enough Sixers talk tonight.
Giants are not our rival. All right, so when all is said and done, Chris, you have the Eagles coming off your. What was your prediction last year? 16-1.
No, it was 14-3. Or no, it was 13-4. 13-4.
Oh, you got them at 14-3 this year.
Adam,
Adam,
right?
You got them at 12-5, and I have them at 13-4. So
this is very early. We're gonna do official predictions later in the year.
Absolutely, but you gotta do it.
Yeah.
And you know what? The over under is only 10.5 wins.
We didn't even trade for Buda Baker yet.
That's listen.
You think that's happening?
Where there's smoke.
I think so. Why not?
What an addition that would be.
But they are big on the safety from Syracuse they drafted. So maybe not. I don't know. I would still do the trade, but I don't know what their defense is going to look like with Desai under the helm as the coordinator this year. But they had talked about Howie being interested in Buda, so we'll see.
All right. Well,
that was your quick NFL schedule look ahead. Again, a lot more. We're going to do our division previews like we did last year as we get closer to the season. But we talked a lot about in segment 1 the Sixers and what could have been. In segment 3, we're going to go into our biggest what ifs in Philadelphia sports history. So we'll be right back with segment 3. All right, we're back for segment 3. What ifs? I guess the biggest what if is what if Piggyback Partners didn't sponsor the podcast?
Well, I'll tell you what, Brody 1211 wouldn't gotten a gift card. That's what if.
Shout out to Piggyback. But let me throw a what if at you. This one maybe focused at you, Chris, as the Eagles fan. What if Carson Wentz doesn't tear his ACL? Do the Eagles win a Super Bowl? Is Carson Wentz's career path different? Where are we at if Carson Wentz doesn't blow his ACL?
That just blew my whole mind.
Yeah, me too, because that's not.
I wasn't even thinking about that.
Not the kind of stuff I thought about when you presented this in the text. That's a good one.
Well, Carson would love my response when I say that, God works in mysterious ways. And
what a cop out.
That's a little seriously. I mean, that
but that's not the point. God worked in a different way in this situation.
I think that I do not believe in Carson Wentz as a Super Bowl caliber. I think he would have Joel Embiided the Eagles in that spot if he did not get hurt.
And do you think he would not be the quarterback for the Eagles?
That was what, 2017 going into 18, it's 23. As a franchise quarterback in the NFL, it's a lot harder to lose your job if you're a true franchise guy. They probably would have thought he still was for a while, longer than he should have been. So he probably still would be the quarterback.
Yeah, they wouldn't have drafted Hurts, I would imagine.
Correct.
He was so good that year before he got hurt, 33 touchdowns and 7 picks. But what Nick Foles did was magical.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have done it. I don't think he could have done it.
It would have been so interesting to see him play a playoff game. Again, I think the only playoff game he ever played was the Seattle the next year, right? Carson have any other playoff starts?
Let's take a look.
I
Nope.
think that was
it. That was
the game he got knocked out.
2019 was it. Yeah.
Yeah, he got knocked out by what's his name?
Clowney.
Yeah.
All right, so that's I tend to agree with you. I don't think they would. That team was so good though. I still think they probably win that Super Bowl.
I think a lot of in the NFL, I think you can have a great team, but you're only going to go as far as your quarterback leads you. Example of I trash them all the time. The 49ers were good on paper, but they didn't have a quarterback. And because of that, they didn't get to where they probably could have went. Eagles would have probably the same thing happen to them.
All right. Fair enough. What else you guys got?
I hated that.
That was a lot.
Like I loved it. It was a great one. I hated having to think about it.
Yeah, because there's so many different things that play itself out. Obviously, Hurts is not here. What does Wentz do in that playoff situation? The whole underdog story is not in play.
You could to clean our palate of that, you could say, what if Jalen didn't fumble in this Super Bowl.
Yo. I went from 7 to 6.
Oh, there you go. It has been revealed, fans. I think about that all the time. Like that was the difference in the game.
Yeah, I literally have it. What if Hurts doesn't fumble in the second quarter on my list?
What if homie doesn't call the hold on in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, the flag.
Jalen might have went down the field. I have all my heart believes that Jalen would have led that team down the field in a minute and a half and scored a touchdown. I really believe that. If nothing else, at least a field goal to tie the game and go to overtime.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we get the field goal.
Yeah.
I think about a lot of times the 2010 Phillies with that, like if they had got over the Giants, won the World Series, won 2 out of 3, came back, and they came back as the best team in the league in 2011. But like, what would that have meant for that group's legacy, even more so now, or then, if that had happened versus now in reality? If they would have been like bona fide Hall of Famers, for instance, with like the group of Rollins and Utley and Howard and those guys, like what that have meant for the individual legacies more so than just the team legacies, but even the team legacies too, though, like how that would have affected it.
It certainly would added if they would have won another World Series. I mean, right now they were the best team in the National League for that period of time, from whether it was 2007 through 11. They were the class of the National League, but it does feel like they left a little bit of money on the table during that run, especially because the best teams that they had were 10 and 11, what you're saying, and they didn't even get to the World Series in those years.
Yeah.
I don't know if it does a ton for the individual legacies. Like maybe Jimmy Rollins goes from borderline Hall of Famer to certainly a Hall of Famer, but I don't think Utley or Howard gets in regardless of whether or not they win that World Series. And I don't think they're thought of any differently. Like in that team is so beloved by this city. I don't know if it changes the way that our fans feel about that group of players.
Nationally, they get held to a higher recognized in a better light, because nationally I feel like a guy like Ryan Howard doesn't get the love in the all-time category that we give him as fans of him.
That's because analytics hates him and everybody just looks at analytics these days.
Absolutely. But even Chase Utley, like people like we love Chase Utley. People don't love Chase Utley, but if he had 2 rings, that changes the whole narrative. That team just got so old so fast.
Yeah.
Well,
like 2012 rolled around and they were like fossils.
They were shot.
Yeah, they were done. It was ridiculous.
I mean, well, Howard blows his Achilles. Utley, remember, Utley battled injuries almost every year. He had those chronic knees.
Yeah, his knee was jacked up for years.
Yeah, and he would break his wrist or he would break a hand. And then, I mean, they lost Burrell. They lose Ibanez had stayed, I think, but they lose Burrell. Jimmy got older. Chooch had a lot of innings, and then the pitching staff just got old. Halliday's arm fell off, and the rest was kind of history.
Yep.
Al, what do you have?
What if the Sixers never tank? What if the Sixers don't trade Nikola Vucevic, and instead of keeping Spencer Hawes over him?
Wait, you got two different things there.
Well, there's a whole bunch of stuff. So, like, if they don't tank, and here's what I was gonna say. Effectively, they had traded Iggy, Vucevic, and Harkless, right, for Bynum and Richardson. So instead of doing all that, they build around Iggy, Drew, Vucevic, and Lou. Instead of drafting Evan Turner, they take DeMarcus Cousins. What happens to the Sixers organization and franchise? Do they become a championship contender with that core, or is it still just they're beating their head against the wall?
Let me ask you this first because I was looking at something like this today. The start of the process was Drew Holiday being traded,
right, for
Nerlens Noel and a first-round pick. How many players have the Sixers had post-process that are better than Drew Holiday? 2?
And Embiid and Harden?
I was going to say Butler. Probably Harden too.
Yeah. Yeah, Butler's better than Holiday. Holiday's good, man. Holiday's just
really good.
It sucks because he's the perfect piece for this team.
Yeah, he's really
I know. So I don't know if I mean you don't really need Vucevic and Cousins. That's a lot. I don't
I
think
just
that team's not a championship team, but it's. I mean, it gets just as far as this group does. I mean,
Yeah, I think they're a second round team.
yeah. Well, yeah. For me, I just picked Cousins because I feel like his name was the one that was brought up a lot that year as like, oh, like he should go top 1, top 2, but all this stuff off the court because I
But I
could
mean, he snapped though. The guy was a loose cannon.
yeah, but like I mean, I could say Paul George. Like Paul George was that same year too.
right.
So do you take
What
Paul
do you go,
George? But
9?
that wasn't realistic.
No, not a 2.
No, he was 10. He was 10th overall.
10. So let's say this: we trashed Joel tonight, but let's take it back and realize Joel's won an MVP. He's been one of the best players in the league for the last 10 years. And because of that, we look at the process as at least some piece of his success. And I know we're not supposed to say process tonight. What if Joel Embiid doesn't break his foot in the pre-draft workout? He's supposed to go number 1 overall to Cleveland. He breaks his foot, falls to 3. Sixers take him. What if the Sixers ended up with Andrew Wiggins? Where would we be
Nowhere.
process-wise if we had Wiggins instead of Embiid? How much different would Hinkie be looked upon?
That's a great. I mean, we'd be probably still very close to where we were at then. Right now, I don't think we would have ever really been a full. Because remember, for a long, Wiggins isn't a number 1 dog either.
No,
That's like
No.
he's a really good player, and he was a big cog in that championship team last year for them. But he has to have a lot of help. He can't be a number 1 option. He's like a number 3 or 4.
remember that was the guy everybody wanted in that draft.
It was winless for Wiggins. I don't think
Yes,
we end
he
up
was the
with,
Canadian Jordan.
I don't
Yeah.
think we end up with Wiggins if Embiid goes first. I think we end up with Parker.
Well,
No,
Parker
it was-
seemed
it
like
was
a
already-
lock. Parker was like a lock to go to Milwaukee.
Yeah, it was already like a set for whatever reason. They were like already set on Jabari Parker that whole time for the most
Yeah,
part.
but I think that was a lot because of Embiid's injury too, though.
They had Wiggins. Wiggins.
No,
was
it was supposed to be
the Sixers
Embiid, Parker,
brass.
Wiggins.
Yeah, Wiggins was meeting with the Sixers brass at Del Frisco's. I remember the week before the draft, and everybody was like, "Oh, that's it. He's going to be the guy. We're going to get Wiggins. It's going to happen." And then, Embiid gets hurt, and the whole thing goes. The rest is history. But no, Wiggins was and I wanted Wiggins back then. I'm not going to lie. Like I
We all
wanted.
did.
It was a consensus pick, I think, for us. But yeah, I don't think that we would have found out that we had a sheep and not a wolf, and we would have probably been in a similar spot that we've.
We might have been in the lottery.
That's what I'm saying. We would have been in the same spot back then for a while.
Right. It gets worse because none of the other picks change. You still take Okafor, you still take Simmons.
The only thing that would have changed was Okafor would have had a natural spot as your clear-cut center, and maybe he would have had a longer career with the Sixers before they cut the cord.
He still would have sucked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He would have still been disappointed. But remember, he did give Boston business that first game. At the Garden. He gave him business.
He was so bad defensively, dude. He
Yeah,
would get killed.
Couldn't move.
Couldn't move.
If allow me to reintroduce hockey to our podcast.
Oh.
Be the black guy to reintroduce hockey. Who'd have thought? If the Flyers never traded for Eric Lindros, do you remember what that? Do anyone of you know what that trade consisted of?
Go ahead, read it. It was a lot.
So in 1992, the Quebec Nordiques drafted Lindros first overall, despite the fact that Lindros wasn't going to. I'm sorry, it was 91 that they drafted him. He said he wouldn't play for them. So before the 92 draft, they traded him to the Flyers for Ron Hextall, Mike Ricci, Steve Duchesne, all who were bona fide NHL really good players, as well as a guy by the name of Peter Forsberg, and future considerations who ended up being longtime pro Chris Simon, in addition to 2 first-round picks and $15 million. So my point is, would you have rather had Lindros by himself and the years that we had with him that without a cup, or would you have rather had Peter Forsberg, Mike Ricci, and Steve Duchesne and Chris Simon?
Peter Forsberg alone had twice the career of Eric Lindros.
Yeah, but Lindros put the Flyers back on the map, I feel like.
Well, you don't think Forsberg would have done that?
Forsberg would have done that?
but
Yeah,
not in that moment. So when did Forsberg like
Ah.
come peak?
Forsberg won a cup in
Dude,
'96.
Forsberg peaked from like 96 to 2000. Him and Sakic in Colorado.
I think it was
Yeah.
longer than that, Al. He was a star for a long time.
No, he was, but I'm just saying, like maybe the peak of the peak was that like 4 or 5
When did we get Forsberg?
late after
I know,
that.
but like, well, I don't even know. Was that like 04-ish? Am I way off with that?
No, I think it was after that, wasn't it? It feels like it was like 30 years ago. I don't know. It was,
I'm trying to find it.
yeah, to say, but even still, and there was also a guy by the name of Kerry Huffman that was in that.
2005.
Yeah,
2005.
just 1 year.
No, 05 to 07.
So guess I have another like very similar one. I have what if Lindros never had concussion issues?
That's a great one because he was on the path of being the face of hockey.
right. Lindros was probably better than Forsberg if he's healthy.
I'm happy for the guy because in retirement,
You are
the Flyers
disrespectful.
fans have come back or circled back around and have embraced him. But for the longest time, because of his dad and all that drama with the parents and him and all that, and Bobby Clark being stubborn, he was a hated guy in this town. But thankfully, I think it's cool that we embrace him back as a retired guy. But bro, Forsberg reaches
Seltzer,
Shane and Chris Simon.
I mean,
You're
listen, Lindros won an
disrespecting-
MVP. Don't act like he was no.
No, I was saying Forsberg. Forsberg won MVPs, cups, the whole thing.
Yeah, you're disrespecting the hell out of Peter Forsberg.
Forsberg also had injury issues, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Bad feet.
He had the feet. Yep. Yeah, but
Yeah,
I'm not disrespecting Forsberg, but like the other guys in that trade don't move me. So it becomes who would you rather have, Lindros or Forsberg?
well,
It's-
hold on. because I'm pretty sure I know Duchesne, if I remember correctly, was a defenseman, right?
yeah, he was.
And he was a damn good one. I don't think he was he wasn't a scrub. He was a nice player. Mike Ricci scored 243 goals. 605 points
All
in
right,
his career.
maybe Flyers got ripped off.
I don't know. I mean, you're right though by asking the question. Like, if he didn't get the concussions, if it would have been a moot point. But I mean, he had 1, 2, 3. He had a 30 goal season in '94. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons of 20 plus goals. I mean, he was a nice little player. Chris Simon used to beat dudes up.
I hate to bring it back to the Sixers again, but the game when Scott Stevens knocked Lindros out in the conference finals kind of felt like yesterday. It was just the end.
Yeah, that was a good one. I will say this real
We were
quick.
in the trailer for that, Al.
Wow. Talk about a good memory. I don't remember that at all.
I will say this about hockey. I watched a little bit of the playoffs here and there if there's nothing else on. And I dig how they had. Remember back in the day when they used to have on Fox had the flashing puck or whatever it was? That was kind of cool. Very 90s-ish, right? But now they have, like, during power plays, they highlight the player and their name, like a video game, over the player when they had the puck. And I think they should keep that full time instead of just power play. I think that helped a lot for me to be able to see and recognize dudes on the teams.
They need to
Because
do-
hockey's a kind of sport, like, if you don't know, if you're casually watching it, it's like
Yeah.
soccer. It's so many things going on, and you can't see their bodies because of the swiftness of the moves and all that kind of stuff, and the camera angles. You don't really know who's who all the time.
It's worse than soccer. It's the hardest sport to watch as a casual fan on television. If you don't know who's out there, you have no idea what's going on.
And their names are foreign to American. Like,
shit.
it's tough.
We can't talk about Eric Lindros though without bringing up the fact that he was the best player to play with in that one NHL game. I can't remember if it was 96, 97. Do you guys remember where they gave
97.
the star players in the league a special move that you could pull off? And
Yeah.
Lindros's special move, do you remember what it was, Chris?
No.
He could check dudes when he had the puck. He was the only one that could do it. he was unstoppable in that game.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was NHL 97. And I remember because that was like the first game I remember where like I played it and I was like, yo, because they had like it was Bill Clement and what was the guy Darren Pang. I think
Panger.
Hanger.
and they showed them always like they're talking about the game before you played it, like a pregame talk. And I
Yeah.
was like, yo, this is lit.
Yep.
I
I
remember that game because of that.
I think like Mike Madonna had a spin move with the puck.
Donna was nasty too. Yeah. Like I said before, man, I miss hockey when we could like have
Dude,
things to talk about.
big hockey video game guy.
Yeah, NHL 90 was 95?
One of them.
94 was fantastic.
94? Yeah, that was one of the best games ever made.
Yeah, fantastic game.
Remember on Sega, it used to have the yellow thing on the side, and the rumor was if you could pull that yellow thing out, the graphics were better.
Is that what they said in Overclock?
I know you're talking about the yellow thing.
Remember
Yo,
that?
put a yellow thing, yo. The TV get nice. Yeah, because they had like the sport, like I remember Triple Play used to have that yellow tab.
Yep. What
Was
was
that
it?
you think that was an EA thing?
Maybe that's what it was.
Maybe.
Other than that, I don't know why they even had it.
I don't know. Booger Man might have had it too. that certainly wasn't an EA sports game.
I'm gonna Google what was the yellow thing on Sega games.
Oh shit.
But dude, NHL, so I used to play it like 94, 95, and then it made a resurgence. I remember when I was in college, you used to be able to play it, and there was a mode where you could just play one-on-one, and the puck would just drop, and you would try and score with the puck. And Martin St. Louis was unstoppable.
Oh yeah. Well, he was
So
fast as
bad.
balls.
So it was an EA thing. So EA used to buy their own shells rather than buying them from Sega. It was just a branding item for EA.
Interesting.
All right.
There you go. There's some knowledge for the night. Al, you have any other what ifs?
Yeah, I got a bunch. Here's like it's all just Sixers draft what if. So I guess the biggest one that has come up time and time again, I think, at least for guys of our age, is if the Sixers had not drafted Larry Hughes in 1998 and instead drafted either Dirk Nowitzki or Paul Pierce, who were the next two picks.
I'll ask you, who do you think would have made a better match for with Iverson and got rings here?
Dirk.
I can't imagine a Dirk Iverson pairing off the court.
Can you imagine? I was going to say a Paul Pierce Iverson pairing on the court would be a unmitigated disaster.
I think they would have clashed. Yeah, I think Nowitzki and Iverson would have been a better fit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, on the court, but I don't know if they would have gotten along. Iverson's tough.
Pierce had to have the ball too, though.
Yeah,
I know.
He wasn't really an off-the-ball guy.
So did Nowitzki.
Out of the ball. Nowitzki
Dirk
could
do other
post
stuff.
up and shoot.
Yeah, he can do other things.
Yeah, but Pierce could shoot too.
But I mean, like I feel like Pierce would get the ball in a set and then kind of like do what he wanted to do. I don't think Nowitzki really Nowitzki wasn't really like a guy that drove and shot off the dribble or like drove and dished. Like he didn't do that. Like Pierce kind of controlled the offense more than Nowitzki did. Nowitzki was just a guy that was a sniper and could just make shots from anywhere.
But I also think timeline wise, it took Dirk longer to find himself, and by the time Dirk hits his peak, Iverson's toast.
I remember I had someone gave me tickets to see them in '98 play the Mavericks, and they had Nowitzki as a rookie. Because I think he was starting, but he wasn't like established yet, obviously, because he was just from the league, just coming overseas. And that was before like all those guys overseas were all hyped up already coming over and stuff. And we were just like, I don't know who this German guy is. Like he's whatever, like some rookie that they got. Little do we know he would be one of the best players of all time, probably the best foreigner of all time.
Actually, I'm underrating Dirk's timeline.
Yeah, Adam, by year 3, Dirk was averaging 21.8 and 9.
And 21 back then was like 27, 28 now.
Yeah.
That's the NBA Finals year. And then the next year, he's an all-star already, Dirk.
Yeah, I was wrong on the timeline there.
And if you want to know what Larry Hughes was doing,
Flight brother.
Not much.
Flight brothers.
Unreal.
Larry Hughes out of
St. Louis.
St. Louis,
yeah. Correct.
Shout
out Satish.
Do you ever think about like, well, I mean, I know you do, but as far as the sake of this conversation, if the Colangelos had never colluded to slither their way into this team,
it's on my. I have what if Hinkie stayed? It's very similar.
I feel like Hinkie might have been like the Dark Knight in that saying where it's like, what is it?
You either live long enough,
die and be a hero,
die a hero, or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah, I feel like he might have been here too long and became a villain after a while.
Agreed, but the Colangelos are the ones that screwed it up. Like they were tweeting negative things about their own players on their wives' social media accounts.
Well, no, wasn't it the opposite? Wasn't the wife doing it on the burners?
Rumored.
Yeah, she took the fall for him.
Right.
Man, that's a down ass chick, man.
Can
That's
you
a
imagine
scumbag.
the
That's
GM?
a weird ass dude.
Yeah, he's a scum with them big ass vampire collars he
Yeah.
had. Dracula
was-
collars.
That was
I could see him sleeping in a casket at night.
Dude, Seltzer, you said you're going to tag this episode explicit. I know that if my kids that say they're listening, they ain't listening by this point. Colangelo can fuck all the way off, dude. Fuck him.
All the way off.
him and his pop.
Yeah, dude.
Remember when at the press conference when they introduced Jerry and he was like, I won't be here. I'll be in Phoenix commuting. But I was like, are you kidding me? What is happening?
Yeah, dude. It was
They screwed this franchise up so bad, dude.
but do you think Hinkie takes him to that next level or no? Or are we just
That's what I'm saying. That's my point. Like,
like
don't
was
stay here
Hinkie the
too long.
Brett Brown where he was just to get him to a certain point and had to hand it off? We just handed it off to the wrong guy. Just like we did with Doc.
Hickey was just in like an unwinnable situation. Like they were like, let's bring this nerd in and we're just gonna throw this process together. And like if it fails, it's on him. And if it wins, we'll get rid of him. Like we'll bring in somebody that actually knows basketball. If
He
it
made lemonade out of
turns
lemons more better than anybody probably ever did in the NBA's history, and they couldn't handle it.
he just had the balls to do what every
Right.
fan of a middling team wanted their team to do forever. Which is
Yeah, I mean he
get
laid the groundwork for what teams do now. Again, Oklahoma City's done the same tanking job just without the branding of it. And
I
he
love-
changed the game because they changed the rules.
I love how Hinkie is like talked about in Philly like a deity. In like
Yeah.
he's like a god. Like,
I'm not. I gotta be honest, guys. I'm not with that. Like, I'm not. I never was like a big like.
oh,
Hinkie
I think it was I like you said so credit that he had the balls he had. You got to give him credit. Like, and then the manifesto when he left the 12-page manifesto. Like, who does that?
Yeah, I mean,
And then when he tweeted the pursuit of happiness gif when we beat the he got the MVP. That was so awesome. So
Dude,
awesome.
imagine you're an
Die for our
assistant.
sins.
You're an assistant GM getting an interview for a job, and they're like, "What's your plan?" And your plan, he's like, "We're gonna suck for 4 years." That's
Well, and the ironic thing about that is who was his mentor?
Morey.
Daryl Morey.
Yeah.
Who
Absolutely.
would have no idea how to do that at all right now, I don't think. I don't think he's ever been the guy that's been built to rebuild a team. He's
But
always
I
been
think
the guy
Daryl Morey's at a point in his career where he doesn't want to do that. He's at the end of the rope. He wants a championship. He gets a championship, I think he's done.
well, he's got to be able to get the championship.
But I don't think he wants to log those years of pain to get to that point.
He might hit Hinkie up as an advisory role right now and be like, yo, bro, how do you do this?
Hinkie's done. He's never coming back.
It's like the guy playing the game, like your man comes over, like, yo, take the paddle for a second. Tell me, man, how you get past this level?
Hinkie is Adam. You'll like this. Hinkie is the Anthony Kim of basketball. He's never coming back.
That's a good reference.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
All right, I'm gonna take the low hanging fruit here. What if Ben Simmons or Markel Fultz worked out?
I can't
Or
even.
both. God forbid. God forbid
Yeah,
both.
God forbid something worked
I
out.
can't
Yeah.
even picture that.
Well, how about this? We got the Fultz we wanted. It wasn't Fultz. It was Maxey. Maxey was the guy who should have been Fultz.
Peak Fultz is better than peak Maxey. Because he's bigger and he's stronger. That's not a knock on Maxey.
Yeah,
Size.
and actually,
Fultz is like 6'5", right?
Yeah, and he's built
Yeah.
like a brick house.
and Fultz was, if you remember when he was here, at least I think he's still a little bit now too, but he was deceptively good at defense.
Yeah, no, he's very good at defense. now.
He could guard.
Yeah, absolutely. I think his handle's a little better than Tyrese's. He's not as good of a shooter as Tyrese, but he can finish a little bit more in traffic. Obviously, doesn't have the speed. I think peak Fultz is better than peak Maxey.
Well,
We've never seen peak Fultz.
Right.
and we never will.
No.
But if there's no pandemic, we don't have Maxey either.
Because of the bubble.
There's no way he's the 20th pick in the draft
Fair.
if they play a tournament that year.
Well, Mike Muscala has to make that 3 for us to even get that draft
Well,
pick.
that too. Yeah. Fate.
And we didn't even talk. We won't talk Simmons if Simmons worked
No,
out.
I didn't even.
No,
I
dude,
don't care.
no. Next.
Because the fact of the matter is, he never was going to make it. He never had the heart of a lion or a champion like we want him to have it. Again, if they tell you who they are, believe them. He told us in Mount Bird. He told us at LSU, and he told us when he got here.
Fair. You guys have any other ones?
Um,
All mine are draft ones, like I said. So I had like Tatum over Fultz, which it's not even an option. That never was even anyway. If they keep Mikal Bridges,
right. I'm going to say that one.
That's a good one.
if for some reason, like these are all stupid. If for some reason they drafted Pascal Siakam over Timothy Luwawu Cabarrot,
You'll see.
Or if we drafted, wasn't Giannis in the Noel draft?
So
Yeah,
Giannis,
but
Giannis over MCW.
MCW, okay.
And then I have Booker over Okafor, but that's not even
That would have never happened though either.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That wasn't even close to being a reality.
I would say one I was thinking of was off the NBA, but if we just paid T.O. his money.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Would that have played out with him and Donovan?
Dude, they were so good. I mean, I would have been shocked if they stayed here and they didn't win a ring together. At least one.
Yeah, T.O. was one of my favorite receivers, as much as a lunatic as he was. He was fantastic.
But see,
Al was so anti-T.O.
Yeah. Because he wasn't as good as Randy Moss, dude. Everybody was trying to take Randy's shine all the time. Chris,
I don't know, man.
T.O.,
I think over the span of his career, he was as good as Moss. But Moss's best year was way better than T.O.'s best year, if that makes
Randy
sense.
Moss is the second best wide receiver of all time.
Peak Moss was better than peak Owens, but you just didn't get peak Moss near enough. Like when he went to Oakland, I don't know what happened.
That's what I'm saying. He had a stretch of time where he was like, what happened to him? And then T.O. never really had that until he was like at the end of his career with the Bengals and all that crap.
Yeah, but that was that. So that's the same thing as that 2-year stretch in Oakland for Randy, and then
Randy was still in his prime though.
But Moss goes to Oakland, which is a dumpster fire of an organization, and then he goes to New England and sets all the records.
They're another organization that's a loser organization now, the Raiders.
They've always been
ever
since the Tuck Rule game.
Well, not always. Like the 70s and stuff, they were
ever since the Tuck Rule game.
70s were 50 years ago.
I mean, yeah, there's
Chris, the Raiders
historian
over here.
We got two loser organizations in our
Oakland Raiders.
How do we have two? The Flyers and the Sixers both are loser organizations.
Losers
at this point.
Let's not pretend like the Phillies are a winning organization. They suck.
No, I'm saying at this point, right now, they're both in a loser bracket.
But
real quick, I was thinking about this week, thinking about the Phillies. Have you got like Alec Bohm? I can't forgive him for saying I effing hate this place.
Dude, I can't agree with you more, man.
Can you like I can't believe that this city has forgiven him so quickly. Like, what the hell has he done to be forgiven so quickly?
And all just because he said my fault.
Dude, that's a wild thing to say. And that for this city of all cities,
and while he's playing in the building, in the city.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, man. He doesn't sit right with me.
Now I'm not
it's a mistake.
I like the kid's skill set. I don't like as far as like his bat, and I think he's gotten better as he's been here, which is what you're supposed to be doing. But I'll forgive, I don't forget.
Yeah,
right. That's more of it. He did homer tonight.
I respect him as a baseball player. I just I don't think I can ever be a fan.
Very strange. Yeah.
That's a lot. And to be who he is, like a California pretty boy, and to say that shit. Like it'd be different if he was from here. Then I can maybe forgive and forget. But
right. And I'll be honest. Like I would have said no. I said I
just had to get that off my chest. But Chris, I think you owe Nick an apology here, Nicky Bats.
You know what? I already apologized earlier to y'all too. I'm gonna apologize.
The apology episode.
Nick might be an all-star.
It's wild.
He might be an all. He's raking, dude.
Yep. He did drop a fly ball right in his glove tonight.
No, well.
There goes.
And Bailey got lit up. They're down 6-2 in the third.
He sucks.
He's terrible.
I've been told you that. You were the one. Oh, he might be all right for like a 5.
No, he pitched good down the stretch last
Trash.
year. But he had nothing.
He's got 90-mile-an-hour fastball speed.
He's got nothing.
No out pitch.
No. The last one I had is baseball related, and we could go over it quickly.
What if
What
Billy
if we-
Coulter stayed in the minors?
What if we got Machado over Harper?
Oh,
He would have been already out of here.
yeah. Him and
I
Very,
don't
Boom.
think
very
he's a
possible.
Philly guy.
Him and Boom. Boom would have said, I effing hate this place. And Machado would be like, me too.
Yeah, yup.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have been out. I don't think he'd have still been here. I think he took that opt-out clause and bounced.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he was built for the city. That worked out. One of the few things that works out in this city was the Bryce Harper signing. That guy,
For a
He
guy
owns
that's
the
not
city.
from here, you would have if I got dropped from Mars and I came to Philly and watched the Phillies, I would have assumed that Bryce Harper was a homegrown guy.
yeah, no doubt.
I would have never thought he came from another team and was from Vegas across the country, the way he plays and rides for this team in this city.
Yeah. He was so ready to embrace all of it.
Yeah. I mean, his press conference when he said he wanted his kids to grow up and be Philadelphians,
Yeah.
I mean, I was like putty in his hand. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, that was it. Like, that's what I needed to hear.
Oh, he's such a stud. Anybody else have any other ones before we do a little PGA Championship preview? We weren't going to get through this whole episode
Oh, let's
without
wrap it up.
jumping into the PGA.
Let's wrap it up.
We're going to bring on our special golf guru, Chris Guest, for the PGA Championship. Chris with his Masters picks that were close to the top 3. They were top 3 for a while.
I had top 3 on the board. The
Yeah.
3 guys I said.
Did Hovland finish third?
I don't know if he finished there, but I'm saying after the
No.
first.
No, because I live bet him going into Sunday and he tanked.
Yeah, he tanked.
He's such a dog.
After the first round, it was those 3. It was Rom, Hovland, and Koepka in the top 3.
Right.
Hovland led after round 1, right? Yeah.
So I'm gonna ride Rom again. He's my if you had a guy that I had to put a dollar on, I would bet Rom.
Well, you can't call Chris the golf guru if he's just taking John Fowler.
Talk, baby,
A winner's a
talk.
winner. A
Take
winner's
the
a
talk.
winner. You ain't giving a shit.
I mean, a
Okay.
major's a major. It ain't easy to win a major now. Let's not get it twisted. Y'all know that. So I would still say Rom, and then other guys I'm liking is Adam Scott. I
Oh,
like Adam Scott a little bit to make a run here.
you can get him at 90-1 right
He's
now.
a big, he's like plus
He's
9.
playing good golf.
And also Al, your boy Patrick Cantlay.
Oh,
I could see Cantlay
Never.
coming up here and getting it done up at Oak Hill.
so with all feelings aside, Patrick Cantlay is a very good long iron player, which at Oak Hill this year you're going to need to be
Right.
a
They
good
extended the
long iron.
course.
My home track. I've been up there. I played the West course though.
Okay.
Been in that
It's
clubhouse.
got the what's her signature hole?
I don't think any of us have seen a major at Oak Hill. It's been a while.
It's been
What's the one
10
that's got,
years.
like-
It's been and they completely renovated it. Like it's completely redone.
Right.
Dude, Chris, there are par 3s that are like 240 yards. Can
That's
you
cool.
imagine?
No.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm
I got my driver out for that.
Yeah, there's no
And then you're hitting. And then the next one's a 5-iron.
yeah, slice it into the woods.
Go ahead, Al. Give us some guys.
Dude, the guy is who Chris said. At this point, how can you bet anyone but John Rahm? He's
Or
8.
Scotty. Scotty's right in that mix.
So
Scotty's not putting right now.
Scotty's
I know.
Scotty's having putter issues.
I know.
Scotty's having big time within 5 feet. You don't want to see that, man. Within
Yeah.
5 feet putter issues. There's only one dude on the planet right now that has it all going. Every aspect of the game. John Rahm. John Rahm is the best player in the world for a reason. He's the best with his irons right now and his approach shots from 200 to 250, which is a huge number this week when you look at the way the course is laid out. So, I mean, if you like making money and you don't mind just eating all the chalk, it's John Rahm at 8-1. For me, if you want to put a fun bet out there, Jordan Spieth is 40-1, and it would be the last leg of his Grand Slam. The PGA is the only one he hasn't won.
Any concern about his wrist?
Yeah, I'm not betting him.
I want you to bet them.
That's a
I'm just
sucker
saying if you
bet.
want to have a good time.
This is for you, Brody.
The other thing is, Adam, and I don't know if you looked at the odds. A lot of the live guys are just the odds are inflated because they're on live. So like you can get Cam Smith at 35, you can get Dustin at 30. I feel like those aren't bad numbers. If you go a little bit further down, Taylor Gooch at 100, he's won 2 live
Is
events.
Phil in there?
Who's
Yeah,
that?
Phil's there. Some people still say Phil's the defending champ.
Phil can bite. Phil can come up and bite somebody.
275 to 1, Chris.
Some say Phil still got the title. That's what I was saying today. They banned him last year, so he wasn't able to defend his crown.
So I was trying to find. Did either one of you know who won the tournament the last time that they played a tournament at Oak Hill?
Was it
Yeah,
Duffner? I think it was Duffner.
It was Jason Duffner in 2013. And I don't remember this. I was listening to a pod earlier that they said this. He was just throwing darts and like hitting irons to like 2 feet.
But
Yeah.
like not just a US Open. I'm saying, I mean a PGA. I'm saying like any tournament.
They don't have anything else there really. It's
Oh,
Oh,
major.
so that's only okay.
Yeah.
It was him and Adams' boy Jim Furyk. They were going toe to toe.
Westchester's finest.
Yeah,
Flower. Well, where's he from? He's
What?
like pink. Everybody says that they're from.
I thought he was a Westchester guy.
I thought it was Flower Town.
I thought it was Westchester also.
Let me go.
Pink.
That was
Bradley
that
Cooper, they're all
predates
from like 7 different towns.
my golf fandom really started in 2015. Jim Furyk is from Westchester.
Okay.
So Adam, I like Siwoo Kim at 100 to 1. I think that's
I
pretty
actually
good
was thinking
value
about that.
for a guy that's
Ooh, shaking that ass.
he's
What?
what?
You know what I'm talking about?
What'd you say? All I heard was shaking that
Hey, drop that beat.
So if you look up his press conference, when the President's Cup was at Liberty National, which was probably 20, I'm mixing up probably 17, I would guess. They had his press conference, and Siwoo Kim was on the international team, and they asked Spieth and JT what was their favorite chants they heard from the crowd that week. And then they were like, Siwoo, shaking that ass, shaking that ass.
So speaking of that, the last live tournament, I don't know if it was Orlando or whatever it was, but dude, that place is wild, dude. They got they got the music in the background. Like they're missing. The only thing they're missing is like chicks in bikinis on the greens. Like it's nuts.
Yeah, it's a different type of product. I haven't watched a ton of it, to be honest with you.
No,
I saw the course they played this week was looked like a beat up golf course.
Yeah, they're not playing good courses. Adam,
Cops
you
Creek.
can book Siwoo Kim on Cameo. We might have to book him for, you know what? We might have to book him for like a little shout out for the pod.
Maybe we get an anniversary.
Guess
cameo.
how much he charges?
$25.
All right, here a little low. $70.
Yeah, dude, we get like 25.
Does he speak English?
We might have to book him. So wait, can you hear this? Hold on.
No, I can't.
Hold up. Wait a second.
Did you already do it?
No.
Al, if you're looking for a sleeper this week, I'm going to go with, I know Guest is a fan. How about Tony Finau?
I
don't
I
think
thought about
he's
that too.
sleeping. I don't think he's sleeping too heavily. I like Guest other boy. These are all Guest boys. Tyrrell Hatton.
Nah, he's not long enough. I don't.
I
I
like
think
Tyrrell Hatton.
he's
Yeah,
not
no,
long enough.
What I also Justin Thomas, I was thinking a lot about too.
I have my eye on Justin Thomas as well.
Yeah.
Although he hasn't played great this year, but he just tends to pop up on some of these venues. I heard he's going to be playing long. I think the scores are going to be.
Can help you swing, so I hope you listen to Davey, and then I hope you guys enjoyed it, and then play well. Thank you.
Thank you, Siwoo.
That was Siwoo Kim on Cameo. It was supposed to be a roast. I don't know if you guys heard it all.
No, I just not even really hear what he was saying.
Hello, this is Siwoo Kim. Davey, I hope you're taking tips from your friend about how to hit the irons. We might have to get them. 70
Who's
bucks.
is there like a on record like a cheapest and the most expensive person on Cameo?
There's guys on there for like $5, like just nobodies.
Like Joe Exotic. Probably.
Who's really expensive on their guest is that dude MJF, the wrestler.
Oh yeah. He's
He
awesome.
charges like a shit ton of money.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Maybe we should start a Cameo.
I looked into it. You gotta send proof of like the fact that like you're actually kind of somewhat of a celebrity. You gotta send them like your social media account, and they have to see how many followers you have.
Should I send them a hoodie?
Maybe send them a hoodie. Maybe send them an e-gift card. Brody1211. If you're listening, I'm
Hey,
sorry.
you gotta give it up, bro.
Listen,
Yeah.
we gotta send a gift card elsewhere.
You gotta take this L for the team, cuz.
On that note, let's wrap it up. One of our saddest overall episodes, I would have to say. Any final thoughts?
This is the ADD episode. We were all over the goddamn place. If you listen to this whole thing, good for you guys.
From segment two and segment three, we went off the rails.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all good conversation. The ADHD people that listen probably loved it.
Shout out
I'm sure.
ADHD. All right, let's drop that beat.